Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, party squirrels. Sorry if there was any confusion with the time. I was with a student and I was trying to update the start time on my phone for StreamYard, and apparently it didn't save it, which it looked like it did, and apparently it didn't. So I'm sorry if there was any issue there, but we are here now. I just finished up with my last student. So we are here to watch Donna Adelson's crazy bond hearing / suppression. We actually start out with the suppression here. So she's going to make the case for herself to have the hot mic phone call to Charlie suppressed. We're going to see how that goes for her. She takes the stand twice today. Amazing. This is going to be wild for any of you guys. Some of you may have seen parts of it or some of it or all of it or none of it. This is going to be this is classic stuff. And also, I will say this much too. The other thing that's pretty crazy is I would never have thought that Donna might take the stand during her own trial, but today changed my mind on that, because the fact that she got up on that stand twice, like willingly, shocked me, and it makes it seem like maybe she wants to take the stand, and we'll see how she does. So.
Investigator Newlin, you come up to the witness stand. Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I swear.
You may take your seat. You may examine when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, sir. Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Jason Newlin, Jasonnewlin.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm an investigator with the State Attorney's Office here in Tallahassee.
So you're sworn law enforcement?
Yes, 21 something years.
And as part of your duties with the State Attorney's Office, have you been trained in reviewing calls made from the Leon County Detention Center? And is that through Securis?
It is now, yes.
Securis.
How does that system record inmate calls?
How does it record? That's usually proprietary stuff. But I know the inmate they register an account, they set up a password, and then to complete a phone call, they have to go through a process of using their PIN, calling the number. Each party is advised the phone call will be recorded subject to monitoring, and then the called party has to accept the phone call before it's completed. Before the call can be connected between the two parties? Correct. Okay. And you indicated that they're given, the inmates are given its PIN number? The inmates pick their own PIN number. Okay. And the inmate has to enter that PIN at some point during the process, yeah. And is that intended to ensure that the calls are tracked by the inmate making the call? That's the intent. Do you know whether or not an inmate's PIN?
Basically, where the court feed picked up here, we didn't hear. There was no preamble, right? So what's happening here is this is Jason Newlin. He's one of the investigators, as you heard him say, for the state. So this is on the motion to suppress the phone call with Charlie Adelson, right? So we went over this document recently, like maybe last week, and this is where Donna, of course, is it's recorded, and she says that they're leaving the country and they may not get out in time and all that. So what's happening here is, because this is a motion by the defense, this is direct examination, right? So who we are hearing from, we haven't seen him yet today. We are hearing from Donna's defense attorney. So Jason Newlin is being questioned right now by Donna's defense attorney because this is direct examination. And I think if you recall from the document, what they're kind of trying to get at was like that she didn't consent to that being recorded because she meant to hang up. That she accidentally didn't hang up, but she meant to hang up, or she thought the call had hung up on its own, type of thing. So he's going to get into here questions about how does the phone call work and how does the recording work and all that And Securis is the system that they use at the jail. That proprietary system that records the phone calls, and every single phone call it says, thank you for calling Securis, and it's like, this call is recorded. So anyways, that's why he asked about Securis a second ago there.
It can be used more than once simultaneously for calls. So if an inmate is using their PIN to make a call, that call goes through, can someone else use that PIN?
I do not.
And the Securis system, its digital system is the quality is very clear, correct?
Sometimes it's rough.
That depends on the inmate and the called party.
And the device used, you have the tablets and you also have the phone booths themselves.
Now, this system is designed to intentionally record these calls, correct?
Yes.
And it records those calls from call acceptance to termination.
Correct.
When does the call terminate?
Usually when both parties hang up.
Now, are you familiar with the Securis call platform, SCP?
I'm familiar with how we access it. I'm not familiar with the intricacies of Securis though now.
Right, but you've been trained on accessing that in order to collect the calls.
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with a feature that Securis offers that they call covert alerts?
I'm familiar with it.
Did you create any covert alerts concerning Charlie Adelson, Donna Adelson, or any other individual that Charlie Adelson called?
I've never created one for any case.
Now, subsequent to Charlie Adelson's conviction, did you create a report that's 24 pages in length based on the calls that Mr. Adelson was making from the jail?
I did what's I refer to as an extraction of the Securis information for a specific time period, and it produced a report.
May I push the witness?
You may.
I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked as, for identification as defense 1. Take a look at that. Do you recognize that document?
I do. Yes.
Full 24 page report. That's an excerpt of that, correct?
Correct.
Aside from it being reduced in size to reflect what is relevant for the proceedings today, is that an accurate reflection of the report that you generated?
I believe it is, yes. If this is going to be the same one we've had prior communication about.
Yeah, this is, I emailed you 2 different excerpts, one last week and one, I believe, 2 days ago.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point in time, I would move that into evidence as defense 1.
Is there an objection to defense 1?
No, sir.
Defense 1 is admitted at this time.
If you can give that to the judge, and I'll give you a copy.
Thank you.
Now, there is a phone call that colloquially has been referred to as the open line call, correct?
There is, yes.
And that's a call that was made July 7th, 2023 at 14:57:01.
How's it quiz went?
Call 562 on that report. You familiar with that call?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
You have an opportunity to listen to that call.
Guess which call this is?
Recently, I glazed over it a couple days ago, but not the entirety of the call. I just want to make sure I had the same call again.
Okay. And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Sorry, Your Honor, let me correct myself. It's not July, but November 7th, 2023.
Yeah, November.
The second file on this flash drive labeled jail call enhancement for assessment. You recognize that to be the jail call issue?
Oh, by the way,
If this, I believe we sent this to Keith.
Joel was on like 5 different shows today. It was pretty insane. Like there was like 2 or 3, or maybe like 2 STS shows. I think he was on Defense Diaries and he was on Court and Confidential. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, I heard a snippet of Joel on some of the, I can't remember which ones, but at one point he was on, was it with Court and Confidential? Anyway, they were talking about this case, of course. And so There was but here's the key thing. The snippet that I heard earlier, right before I dove into my lessons, was about Wendi. Yay! And so they were talking about Wendi, and Joel was saying that because again, he's got insider scoop with all these people, right, that are connected to the case. And he had just gotten off the phone with Stephen Webster, who testifies at all the trials. He was one of Dan's good friends and also his divorce attorney. And anyway, but he heard, I think Joel said he heard directly from Georgia Kappelman that when they've got some new stuff on Wendi, like in addition to what they already had that was new. So in other words, he said that there's something like Wendi has like an old friend from college or something that like knows something and has provided some new information. But basically, we can't get more specific than that, but it should be soon, people, is what we are hearing. So
McElvain to see if he can enhance.
Bible.
Portion, yes.
And then the second call.
I'm doing that, Bible.
Monday. Number 547 at 6:38 a.m. on November 8th, 2023.
Yes,
Had a chance to review that call as well.
that one I did review.
I'd like to start with the open line call, which is call 562.
Okay.
Would you agree? Thank you. Would you agree that call, according to this report, Exhibit 1, is 26.12 minutes away?
Yes.
I'd like to play, Your Honor, move into evidence.
Okay,
Call
you're
number
gonna play it.
562 as defense 2.
Any objection?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to just play approximately 8 minutes of that call. May I publish?
You may.
Okay, you're gonna play 8 minutes of this.
This call is not private.
Oh my.
It's recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recording, press 1. To restrain these releases, Securis. You may start the conversation now.
Investigator Newlin, that recording that was just, the recorded voice that was just heard, is that the recording that you referred to earlier in your testimony?
The notification to both parties
Yes.
that you're being recorded, yes.
I heard what you said as the chief.
No, he was at the same night who said he was going to call Dan back. I forgot he was going to call him back,
Here she is.
but Chief's back. And Chief of the whole jail. Come on and check me out. So what's that? He has not been there yet. He has the psychologist, PhD, whatever you know. She came by, and I said, fucking a boat. So like looking outside the window, it just happens to odd. It's like you're sitting at like to what? One, it has a big touchdown I had before, but I just look out the window, it's hot. Here, it's like a box. So if you can't see, it's a mirror, they can see in, and you can't see out.
So the thing is this, so they're playing this entire call. The hot mic part doesn't happen until the end. Right now, Charlie, because we've listened to these, right now it's harder to hear because we're hearing it being played through the speaker in the courtroom, right? What they're talking about, Charlie's talking about how the room is like a box and you can't see a mirror and you can't see in, they can't see you, whatever it is. And she's just like nodding along because we know part of what she's going to be talking about later is her conditions as she tries to get bond. And so I just thought it was funny that she's nodding along with what Charlie is saying. Remember at the time when this was happening, this phone call, he had just been convicted and she was packing her bags. And now here she is in the same situation that he was describing. Welcome back, Rochelle.
Can't get this guy to come sooner? It's the best.
Actually, back on the part, let's get about where all they will come forward.
Yeah, I'm sure the psychologist thought you were fine, so it's just a matter of waiting for that, and I think it's the chief.
Yeah, they give a hurry for it, and then, all the 80.
Wow, look at the breathing.
I got 33% on the
Wow.
Yeah. It's okay.
Very interesting. I mean, just watching her you know, are you guys getting the impression that this is somebody who's going to want to, for better or worse, tell her story to the jury or to, in this case, the judge? I mean, this is more than we usually see with people oftentimes. I mean, just listening to church, this is just Charlie talking right now, you know?
Switch the little battery and figure on, and then it's like, you know, you just isolate them. You see it, yeah, a little bit more. Of course, yeah, that's all. It's like, you're doing the opposite of what I would see that on. Right. I know. It sounds like if it's not today, they'll do it tomorrow, you know, but hopefully today. But then I'm not, you know, you're the rest of them. Like, you know, it's kind of all this happens now, like, and what was around and stuff. I know, so, like, the solitary, I mean, I get why I do it, but this is like,
Oh,
you know, the company.
Rochelle doesn't know who this is. Okay, so this is Donna Adelson, Wendy's mom and Charlie's mom. The matriarch of the Adelson family. I know the last time that we were covering Adelsons, and I think you were here. Yeah, you were here. We were watching Katie, my Brownlaw, testify. And she was the middle lady, right? So Dawn is the one who washed the money, laundered the money, literally. And also, this is the phone call, the hot mic phone call, where she is recorded saying that they're planning on fleeing the country and like going to Vietnam. And so, and also implicates potentially that her lawyer may have known, not her lawyer now, her old lawyer, who also was Charlie's lawyer, who's now in a bunch of trouble. So hopefully that helps. We'll run down. Yeah, Charlie stapled the money. Charlie stapled the money. Donna washed the money. Teamwork.
Upstairs, down here, sitting in a box. Keep my 6 foot box. For all the center of the room.
Our trial starts in June.
Like what up and then around bed and back. But the same story, like I said, the phone is 4, not till 6:30, that's all it's saying. Is that every year? Yeah. Just checking. Okay, straight, just checking it with me. Okay. It's up there. Yeah. So, they work hard. We don't know how to. I thought they left. Thank you very much for dating somebody else. You know, so whatever it is, they open up an inquiry as the judge. Okay, they investigate. You know, the investigation kind of thing. Yeah, 9 months from now, the juror writes something stupid. But while they investigate, and they find out, like, and then they find out something, and then you open it, and I can possibly lead to appeal. You know, I think like that's the judge got a lot of stuff in to the case. And he did that because he didn't want to appeal.
Interesting. Again, they're playing the call in its entirety. The hot mic moment happens here shortly. And I would have maybe just fast forwarded to the hot mic part, but honestly, it's very interesting how watching her listen to this. It's a lot of reactions to this phone call. So,
You know, you get a judge rules, and I guess there's no other issues that come up, like that guy, Henderson or whatever. You know, I guess the harder the judge rules on the issues during the trial, the more likely there's that television. Here the judge is in favor of the defendant, but more likely there's that television. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I do. So, my general feeling, this is my feeling about water. So my feeling is that he ruled, if, you know, if anything, he gave the benefit of the doubt because he didn't want to get television. Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, he made that comment to me that he the judge ruled in our favor a number of times. You know, he wanted to bring stuff in. He even said in the right part of it that he meant it that there's not going to be.
Wait till the part where she explains the Vietnam thing. It is really funny. It's really fucking funny, dude. Oh my God.
Oh, you have to say that the judge for something, your due process. You know, if you're doing things improper, things improper, right? What's the reason for wanting to trial? If there was an appeal, would it have to be in Tallahassee? If you do it. I don't understand what you would say.
Consciousness of guilt. Very compelling for a jury.
There's a lot of things that we have to do, and we've got a very tight time frame. So one of them involves
Like,
taking
she
care of
wasn't,
things remotely.
like, in other words, so she was not charged with fleeing the country, right? She was charged with first-degree murder. The thing is this is going to be really compelling for a jury because it shows consciousness of guilt. Yeah, and I think you weren't here yet. I was saying just a few minutes ago, P. Fox, that word on the street from inside sources is that they've got some new stuff on Wendi, and it should be soon. And the new stuff is including, but not limited to, tips from a like college best friend or something along those lines, it sounds like maybe there's some people who didn't want to like rat on Wendi or whatever, and now are offering what they know to the state. Yes, correct. The mens rea. Yes, Twiz. Very good. Yes, the mens rea. Yeah, the consciousness of guilt factor. So, like, when a jury hears this phone call, right, when we get to the hot mic part, and like they learn that it's like a one-way ticket to Vietnam, and there's going to be more than that, right? There's going to be also some text messages and stuff like that we don't know about yet. Communications about this. And honestly, I think that the thing I hate is the plotting to leave and all this behind Charlie's back. But anyway, apparently they started making these plans to go to Vietnam literally immediately after he was convicted, because they thought he was going to get acquitted. And so the second he was convicted, Donna got on some website to like find places that she could go. And like, anyway, Joel was talking about that too. So, Twiz is on Donna's side. I mean, we're going to hear them talk about it here today. It's consciousness of guilt. It's consciousness of guilt, just like with anything else. The jury can decide not to hold it against her. Just kidding. I mean, again, what you're saying, technically, a jury could choose to say, yeah, it's normal, one-way ticket to Vietnam. Why not? But will they? Probably not.
Taking care of
No kidding.
through Steinberg, has been on for one day, and Susan was nice enough when I told her she's going to gather everything up after the drive down. So she and Rick got here about 10 minutes before you called, so that she took more of us. We got a couple of hours of stuff to take care of for Roman. So, working on that, and it's a lot, but I think you're going to be okay. You're going to get out of that stupid room. Once you do, you'll start to feel a little bit better. I know that. And when I have something that I do need to tell you, I'll be there. Okay? So, and then I'll let you know what time to call him. Can you hear me, Joy?
Okay, this is about to get to the hot mic part.
You can't hear me again, right?
Newlin, at that point,
Okay,
according to recording, Mrs. Adelson realized that Charlie is no longer on call.
right.
Correct?
That's what it appears.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, referring back to defense one,
No, there's no jury.
that was call 562.
There's no jury. There's no jury. This is just for any bond hearing or motions hearing like this. This is all before Judge Everett, who's been the same judge he was the same judge for Charlie's trial as well. So Judge, again, he hasn't shown him yet today. So kind of interesting camera situation in this hearing. But anyway, they're before Judge Everett, so it'll be up to him to make the decision.
At 15:07 or 3:07 and 7 seconds, does Charlie Adelson attempt to call his mother back in call number 561?
He does.
And then at 15:08, 3:08, and 51 seconds, does Charlie Adelson attempt to call his mom again in call number 560?
He does.
Okay.
And then at 15:13 or 3:13 and 25 seconds, does Charlie Adelson attempt to call his mother a fourth time in call number 559?
He does.
And then at 15:13, 3:13 and 51 seconds, does Charlie Adelson attempt to call his mother a fifth time in call number 558?
He does.
And then again, at 15:22 or 3:22 and 33 seconds, does Charlie Adelson attempt to call his mother back in call number 557?
He does.
So it seems like to me, so this is news to us, it seems like to me that when this whole thing happened with the hot mic call, we knew Charlie got disconnected. What we didn't know is that Charlie was apparently trying to call her back. Like what, 5 or 6 times. But however, it wouldn't go through. Why? Because she was still on the line. The recorded line being recorded. That's what this looks like.
Were calls number 557, 558, 559, 560, or 561 successful?
They were not.
And why is that?
I do not know.
Is that because his PIN was already in use?
Don't know the answer.
But does that indicate to you that Charlie Adelson
Well, there
had been
you go.
disconnected by 15:07 and 7 seconds or 3:07 and 7 seconds?
Yes.
Now, call number 547. According to defense 1, that call was made at 6:38 in the morning.
Yes, it is.
And you indicated earlier in your testimony that you listened to that call recently.
I skimmed through the initial 60 plus
No,
minutes.
this happened. So we've listened to all of their jail calls. There's like a ton of them. This happened regularly. It's just the system. The jail phones just do that. It's just there's like connection issues or whatever through the software. It was they just got lucky with this basically, but it happens many times throughout those phone calls where they get disconnected. But on the other calls, Donna seems to realize it and like says something like, "Oh, like, you know," she makes a plan to call him back. She's like, "I'll try calling you back," or something like that. So, yeah.
To the portion where we had a situation as the call we just listened to.
So, Your Honor, I'd like to introduce Defense Exhibit 3 for public. I'm only going to publish very briefly.
Any objection from the state?
Yes, sir.
Defense 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hello, this is
Well.
prepaid collect call from an incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1. To thank you for using.
Again, in Defense 3, did we just hear that recording saying that it was going to be a recorded call?
Yes.
I'm going to fast forward and I'll start this at 57 minutes and 13 seconds.
Just want to reiterate, I know the sound is terrible because, again, we're hearing it through what they're hearing in the courtroom, but we've listened to all these jail calls as well. For anyone who wants to hear them, we've got, if you find like if you go to the playlist and it's the ones that say like Squirrely's New Year's Eve, that's when you're listening to these jail phone calls. So it was like at the beginning of the year. And and of course there's timestamps. So, but you know, it's just because we're hearing it through the courtroom speakers. So. Oh my God, look at her though. Wow. Wow.
So at that point in time, approximately 58 minutes, a little bit past that, do we hear Donna realize that Charlie's no longer on call?
This is crazy.
Appears yes.
Should I can't, I'm supposed to pull in, but that's why.
What we're listening to now, Detective Investigator Newlin, is approximately an hour, 2 minutes, and 50 seconds is when that portion of the recording started. At this point, we're at 55 seconds.
I don't know about the one. Do they need to hear me tell Dad to tell call Annie, or are they gonna hear me tell it? Am I going to?
Here we go.
What's the option? Or are they cutting him? No. No, nothing. I'm comfortable with this and possible to put right up and go.
I got the wrong timestamp there.
Oh.
What is all that?
I'll call you when I get off, so I'm gonna call. Maybe I'll call before Wendi comes.
This is it.
I'll call them, tell them, I'm gonna get off, so, yeah. So the things that we wanted to him, we'll talk about in more detail later. So
Yeah.
I'm going to push you to come here, but I realize that, you know, most of everything we can do, I'll have to tell them, we'll leave the country.
There it is.
They're not recording my phone. They are.
They're not recording my phone. That's what she just said on the recording, correct?
Followed by something if they are, something.
Now, as with the calls on November 7th, after disconnected at about 58 minutes into that call, did he attempt to call back in call number 546 at 7:38?
Oh, look, there's the Elmo.
I gotta catch up with you here. So that call was the call on November 8th.
Correct. So we were talking about call 547. That's the one that was just
Right.
introduced.
Okay, so 6:38, that call was made.
So 546 did,
Yes,
and that would be on July 8th.
November 8th.
I'm sorry, November 8th.
Do you love the Elmo?
2023 at 7:38 in the morning.
I know.
Yes.
I don't.
That call.
I need to make a command
It's
for
not
the Elmo.
Call number 545, November 8th, 23 at 7:40.
I have this
That
though.
call back.
Does not appear to.
And these are call number 546, 545, 544. Those are from Charlie to his mother.
Correct.
Call number 543,
Hang on. Important thing.
November 8th, 2023 at 7:44 in the morning. Did that call connect?
So 3 is, it was 7:44, 7:45. Neither one of those connected.
Okay, so 544, 543.
Pausing that. We're gonna make a command. Hold on. We're gonna make a command for the Elmo because that's crucial. I know it's overdue. Let me share this to you guys. Real quick for anyone who hasn't seen it. So here's this Elmo and Nightbot Forever. Look how cute. Look how cute they are. I always ask people, who do you think wrote it? Do you think Elmo wrote this or do you think Nightbot wrote it? At the top there. And I'm going to make a command. We're going to make an Elmo command. Oh my God, I love that Elmo so much. So, oh, there's something else I was going to say though about Donna. What was I going to say? Oh, I know what it was. She, by the way, throws HARVEY under the bus, believe it or not, several times. Wild to even think about, but yeah, because she'll be taking the stand. So let's make this command for the Elmo. And what should we do? We're going to do, let's see. We'll do We Love You, Elmo. Isn't it so cute though? They're BFFs. feel like we need all these different hearts for the Elmo. So I'm just getting this command made. Doo, doo, doo. It will do. Let's see if that looks good. Okay, we'll just go with this. I can always update it, but we'll just go with this for now and see what you guys think. So if anyone wants to try it out and put exclamation point Elmo in the chat, and I'll pull back up the hearing here. Okay.
Those did not connect.
They did not.
And those were from Charlie to his mother.
Yes.
And then call number 542 at 7:52 in the morning.
Did not connect.
Call number 541 at 7:54 in the morning.
Did not connect.
So again, as you can see, they had a lot of issues with the phone system. Like these are all the times that Charlie tried to call and it just didn't even go through, even if she wasn't on the line, it looks like.
Now I'm going to take a step back.
It just didn't connect.
The call that Charlie Adelson made was to his mother's cell phone, correct?
That is. Yes, that's what it appears to be.
And you've been on your cell phone when the call drops, correct?
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
it could be a number of reasons, right?
Yes.
It could be because of tower issues. Could be because of battery issues.
It could be numerous issues. Yes.
Or it could be that the person on the other end just hangs up.
Could be.
Those are termination of those calls, correct?
For one end of
Okay. So this was at the heart of their motion when we covered this. Is there what they're going to try to get at here is when is a call terminated? How do we define that? That's their whole thing. This is, remember, they're trying to suppress that phone call. So they're going to be getting into when is a call terminated. So that's why the word matters here. This attorney for Donna Adelson just gave these examples. He said it could be that the other person loses service, the other person, their battery dies, or the other person hangs up. And all of those are when a call is terminated. And then he answers it and says, well, one of the ends of the call it is on purpose, right? Because, yeah.
it at least.
And when that happens to you, does the call continue or does it just stop?
A little too technical for me, to be honest.
Well, you've been on the phone and realize that somebody's not there. You look at your phone and it says call failed.
Yes.
Or there's just nothing on your screen.
Usually when the call fails, you get a beep beep and it's done.
But that's if it fails on your end, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm curious, guys. What happens to you guys? I feel like it's different situations. Like, I feel like sometimes it's like you know that the call has dropped, but other times I feel like you aren't sure if they're there or not. And I don't know. I think that just depends on. It could just depend on what had happened to the other person's phone. Like which situation was it? A tower thing? Was it they accidentally hung up, or like was it whatever? Because I feel like it's not like when I hear this question, I'm like trying to answer it for myself, and I'm like. I feel like it's not the same every time. So let me know what you guys think.
If you've been on the phone, on your cell phone, talking with somebody, you didn't realize that they got disconnected. You're still talking, right?
Yes.
Just a moment, Your Honor. So with calls 561, 560, 559, 558, 557, as well as calls 546, 545, 544, 543, 542, and 541, those don't connect with Donna Adelson because Securis is still recording, correct?
That's too technical for me. I don't know why they don't connect.
Is Securis still recording?
It is, yes.
Not the program.
Cross-examination.
Yes, sir. So when a call is made from Leon County Jail to a person receiving that call, both parties are alerted that that call is being recorded before that the person receiving the call can accept the call and talk to them. Is
Cross.
that right?
That's correct.
And it also lets the receiver of that call know that they need to hang up in order to not be recorded, right?
Correct.
This is Sarah
Are there
Dugan
hundreds of
again.
calls between Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson while Charlie Adelson was in custody at Leon County Jail?
I would say there's thousands.
I know that you haven't heard all of the thousands, but in most of the calls that you've heard, besides the two we've heard today, does Adelson properly hang up the call, the phone at the end of the call?
Yes, the ones that ended properly, yes.
And the defense showed you while Donna Adelson was still on the line on her.
Again, this is Sarah Dugan. She's the other prosecutor for the state. And I don't think Georgia is actually here today for this, which doesn't surprise me. But if you guys were here last time with Katie, when Katie took the stand, you guys saw Sarah Dugan with Katie on cross, and it was like brutal, right? So this is Sarah Dugan again, right?
Charlie's previous call on these open line calls, that there appear to be several attempts by Charlie Adelson to try to call back.
Correct.
Her phone is still on the previous call, and she's not looking at her phone. Could it be that she doesn't see that the Leon County Jail is attempting to call her back, but she doesn't see her call waiting, and she's not looking at her phone?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
And in one of the recordings the defense plays, she says she seems to be not sure that they are recording her. She says, they're not recording my phone. If they are, and then it's cut off.
No, there's more to that conversation.
Okay.
We didn't hear.
In that part that we heard.
That is really interesting. So we didn't know that until now. Because when we got this phone call, or when we got this recording back when they came out, it cut off exactly where we heard it today, which is they're not recording my phone, and if they are, and it abruptly cuts off. And so it was interesting because it was like, did she just literally say that and then realize her phone was on and then hung up? But now we know, we just learned here, there's more to that recording. We don't know what the rest is. If they are, fill in the blank. And I want to know, at what point does she realize it's recording? And then what does she do? So at some point, she's going to realize it's recording and then go over and hang up and probably say like, oh my God, my phone's recording. Like, it is recording. I don't know. But the key thing here is that there was more to this phone call. That's not where it ends. So
They're recording her. She says, they're not recording my phone. If they are, and then it's cut off.
No, there's more to that conversation.
Okay.
We didn't hear.
wow,
In that
interesting. So maybe we'll get to hear that at trial.
part that we heard, is that she seemed to be unsure whether her phone can be recorded or not. When she says, they're not recording on my phone, if they are.
Yeah, I'm not following the question here.
Okay.
I would object also speculation.
Well, Allow given to clarify your question before
Tell her to clock.
objection or answer is given.
Let me just ask then, the portion that you were played by defense counsel, in that portion, did Donna Adelson say, they're not recording my phone, if they are?
Yes.
On the open line call, that the first one that the defense moved in, that where Donna Adelson talks about fleeing to a non-extraditable country, and other information in this case from November 7th. If Donna Adelson had properly hung up, would the recording have stopped?
Yes.
And we would not be able to then hear the conversation that occurred in her home.
No.
Did law enforcement, or did law enforcement do anything to keep her from hanging up?
No.
And when I say law enforcement, I mean the state.
The other thing I'll say too is when Donna says that they're not recording my phone, the way I interpreted that was actually different from the jail calls. I interpreted that as wiretaps because, wiretaps were huge in this case. And at this point, Donna's well aware that wiretaps were used for all the other people who've already been tried, right? So when Donna says that, because again, she knows she's being recorded when she talks to Charlie. So when Donna made that statement, ironically, I think she was talking about she didn't think her phone had a wiretap on it. She knew it was being recorded when she talks to Charlie on the jail calls. She was referencing that she didn't think her phone had a wiretap, but didn't realize that her phone was still being recorded through the jail phone call, which it's pretty crazy, right, when you think about it.
Have you ever had a call with a friend where all of a sudden you can't hear the person and they no longer are able to hear you?
Yes.
And the call has still been pending there on your phone. It wasn't call failed.
Yes.
would you then need to hang up the phone to ensure that the person on the other end wasn't just hearing your conversations as you went about your day?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Thank
true.
you.
Before we move into redirect, Mr. Zellman, I do have a question. I'll allow both parties to follow up. Investigator Newlin, based on the records that you have in front of you, are there any instances or do you have any knowledge of there being disconnected calls prior to November 7th of 2023?
Not at this moment. I would have to go back and look.
Both parties.
Wait, I want to hear his question again. So Charlie was not convicted until November 6th. Jason Newlin is an investigator for the state. He's on the stand here.
Parties to follow up. Investigator Newlin, based on the records that you have in front of you, are there any instances or do you have any knowledge of there being disconnected calls prior to November 7th of 2023?
Not at this moment. I would have to go back and look.
Both parties may follow up as the court's question if you desire to do so.
I have a question. So that was a question from him. I have a question. Did the court mean, well, this would be a question for the court, not that you can really ask that, but my question is the way he's asking that, is he asking like ever in the history of the jail, or is he talking about like specifically as it pertains to Charlie? I think that the way Jason Newlin answered that, he interpreted the question as it pertains to Charlie. Now, the thing is remember, Charlie wasn't convicted until November 6th. So, and this was on the 7th, was this call that failed. So.
No follow-up.
Briefly. And so, as you sit here today, you're not aware of any other similar situations happening in the thousands of calls.
None of the ones that I listened to, no.
But you could pull a report that may or may not show call consistent with what we presented here this morning.
Yes, I can go pull a report. Yes,
And if that's what the court is asking, you could do that.
I can.
Okay.
I just want to clarify. There's plenty of times where the calls get disconnected. Again, we heard those in Charlie's calls. I think what they're asking about is how many times did it happen where a call was disconnected and the person kept talking. Now, I would agree that that is probably an anomaly. But the anomaly isn't with the phone call. The anomaly is with the Donna. That's what I would say.
Now, when an individual such as Charlie, an inmate makes that call, makes a call, he's using his PIN as we established earlier, correct?
Yes, he's using his PIN when he makes a call, yes.
I'm going to show you, are you familiar with the Next Gen Secure Communications Platform?
Next Gen Secure.
So
Guess not.
When you download the calls and it goes into a folder on a drive or a computer, you have to click on the Show CD icon, and that pulls up a web browser, correct?
So you're talking about when I extract a
Yes.
set of calls, it gives us an email, it gives us a download, and the download has 3 or 4 folders in it.
Yes.
And those folders contain all kinds of stuff. So yes.
Fair my approach.
You may.
This is not marked. You familiar with that?
I've actually never looked at this.
Now, earlier we talked about
We're
call
not
numbers
familiar with that. We
547, 546, 544, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to show you call number 562 on this document.
So they're going to be done
Take a
with
look
him
at
soon,
that's
and
one.
then they're going to be done with him soon, and then I believe Donna takes a stand the first time.
The information consistent with what is on defense one.
This one indicates call part. So there's a little bit more details in here.
So call number 561, 560, 559, did that indicate account and use?
It does.
Now, during the portion of Defense Exhibit 2 that we listened to, prior to Mrs. Adelson realizing that Charlie is no longer on the call, is there any discussion about the phrase non-extraditable country?
Oh boy.
In the 11.7 or the
Oh my God. This is where we're at here. So basically, remember in the jail call, in the hot mic call, right? She says something about, we're going to have to tell her we're leaving the country. The her is Wendi. We're going to have to tell her we're leaving the country. And the question by this attorney to Jason Newlin is, was there anything about a non-extraditable country? As in, we didn't hear Donna say we're leaving to go to a non-extradition country. Like, yeah, I'm gonna make a quick caveat to that. In that particular moment with the hot mic, Donna does not mention a non-extradition country. However, she mentions a non-extradition country many, many, many other times during the other phone calls that were recorded from the jail. That comes up a lot, but it did not come up in that exact sentence. But when you have the history of the phone calls and you listen to them all in a row, as we've done, you know that's what she's talking about. But this is the best he can do, sadly.
11-8 call.
11-7.
Oh, I'd have to go back and listen to it again. I know it was talking about getting out of the country and stuff like that, but I'd have to go listen to it again.
At any point in any of those calls, and this is probably more relevant for the bond, does
Yeah.
Mrs. Adelson indicate she's not returning? Does she say she's not coming back?
No, but the 11-8 call, she did say that she's going to have to tell Wendi we are leaving the country. There was no indication of coming back from that.
There's nothing further, Your Honor?
You may step down.
Okay. Donna.
To accommodate Mr. Toomey, we will take the one witness as to the Arthur aspect of this at this point.
That's ordinary.
Say it was Mike Hayden.
Oh, there's one more witness.
We'll for any witnesses that are here for the bond hearing.
That's fine. Please step outside and do not discuss your testimony with any other party if you are here for the bond portion of the hearings today. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm
The state said they're calling one quick witness.
the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat. Please speak loudly and clearly, Mr. Hayden, so you may examine this duty.
Say your name and spell it for the record.
Yes, Mike Hayden, MikeHayden.
And where do you work?
I work for Yes Care at the Leon County Detention Facility.
Can you say that one more time?
Oh, at the Leon County Detention Facility.
Okay, what do you do there?
I'm the health service administrator
How long have you been health service administrator there?
since January of 24.
Can you tell me a little bit about your education, your training and experience for your position?
So I'm a registered nurse. I have 5 years of experience in healthcare administration. So starting progressively from director of nursing up to health administrator.
Okay, the sound is terrible. Nothing I can do about that. This is the court feed. I don't know what the fuck is happening in that courtroom. But here's what's happening now. So state's calling a witness. This seems like it's probably as it pertains to the bond hearing. Because we know part of the thing that Donna is talking about is like the conditions of her health and whatnot. So this dude, Mike Hayden, this is the state's witness here. And he's like, it seems like he's like basically a nurse for the prison or the jail, or he's the director, but that's where I think they're going with this, is going to be, Donna made a lot of claims in those, in that court filing about like, the no Band-Aids and, cutting her arm on the washing machine. We're going to hear all about it. Don't worry, from her. So
I'm currently a travel health service administrator for the company.
Okay. What type of medical treatment can be provided at Leon County Jail?
So we are basic life saving. So when you're limited to advanced life saving, but anywhere from wound care,
advanced life saving,
or chronic care medications to emergency management.
Are there people
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing.
yeah.
I apologize.
Mr. Toomey, I'm just going to mute you for now. If you need to get involved in some way or make an objection of some sort, at that point, you may unmute.
Oh, so there must be somebody there on Zoom, and that's who's making all that noise. Interesting.
Continue, Mr. Dugan.
Are there people with very serious medical conditions in Leon County Jail or who have been in Leon County Jail, even as serious as
Thank God.
Okay. And the medical staff, does Leon County Jail have there on site?
So we have dental assistants, we have dentists, LPNs, CNAs, RNs, we have mental health professionals, psychiatrists, mid-level, so a nurse practitioner and a doctor, medical doctor.
Is there a nurse on site 24/7?
Yes.
The doctor and the ARNP, those would be the folks that can prescribe medications or refer a person to a specialist. What are their hours there?
So they're Monday through Friday.
Okay, like a normal business hour,
Normal
8 to
business
5.
hours.
Are they on call though, other than those hours?
Yes.
Okay. What about inmates having a medical emergency? They're unconscious, heart attack, stroke, uncontrolled bleeding. What happens?
You guys think when Donna cut herself, she thought it was a medical emergency? I think she did. Or I can't wait. We'll get there soon, and she's going to tell us about it. Whew.
Then?
So we refer to the outside emergency room. So we're basic life saving. So CPR, we can do CPR and things like that.
You hear that, Donna?
EMS can arrive and can take to stabilize.
Okay, but anyone can say this person needs to go to the hospital,
Yes.
not even if a doctor isn't there on site.
Correct.
Okay. Do inmates have like a call button in their room where they can alert COs if they are having a medical emergency?
In some of the cells in the medical unit, yes, they do.
CO is
What about
the
non-emergency?
correctional officer.
How does an inmate make a request for a non-emergency treatment?
So they have paper forms and it's healthcare request forms. and they fill those out and they hand them to the nurse during med pass.
Okay.
And does the and
Now,
nurses
the healthcare request forms are going to become important for Donna.
for them, the people who review those?
Yes,
If the nurse decides that an inmate needs to see the ARNP or a doctor, will they facilitate that?
yes,
If the nurse decides the inmate needs to see a doctor, are the inmates then able to see the doctor usually within a day or two?
yes,
Okay, even if it's on a Saturday, they might wait to see the doctor on Monday unless it's an emergency?
correct.
Okay. I guess that's obviously depending on the nature of the request.
Yes.
Okay. In your experience, is that turnaround as far as I have this issue and I'd like to see a doctor, is that typically faster than people out of custody are able to get an appointment with their doctor?
Yes.
Does Leon County Jail provide treatment for elective procedures or things that an inmate would like to have treatment for?
So what we do is protocol, and that will be, it's a system of showing medical necessity. So if there's a request, if the patient requests anything, you will see the provider, they'll assess the need, and they push it up to our utilization management team. If there is a need, then they will facilitate.
So a medical necessity?
Yes,
Okay. If Donna Adelson was seen by medical staff or is seen by medical staff for a medical necessity that they can treat, will they treat it?
absolutely.
If it's not something that the medical staff at Leon County Jail can treat, will they get her care from a specialist for that necessity or take her to the hospital for that necessity?
Yes,
Have the medical staff evaluated her ailments listed in her motion to determine whether those are necessities or not?
yes,
And have you had an opportunity to review her medical records before court today?
I have.
Has medical staff observed and through any of her appointments, any hearing loss that is, that was noted in the medical records?
Nothing noted in the medical records, no.
Have they noted any sort of medical necessity when it comes to having her needing to see a specialist for ear wax removal?
Donna's in.
If for some reason that was deemed a necessity in the future, would they facilitate that?
Absolutely.
But at this point, they've said they don't notice any hearing loss.
Correct.
Wow.
Was after Donna Adelson complained of shortness of breath, was a chest X-ray done?
Yes,
And did it show that her lungs were clear, so to speak, nothing abnormal,
yes, it did.
a negative X-ray? Was she given like an inhaler treatment of albuterol though because of her complaints of shortness of breath?
Yes, so she's had they had ordered the albuterol treatment since 2023, but recently she reported that she has kind of an exacerbation or worsening of that. So the provider, when she listened to the lungs and those were cleared, she did order a scheduled breathing treatment for a few days. I think it was 5 days total.
Okay, the breathing treatment being the albuterol
Yes,
medication
to
that you
help make
inhale.
open.
Okay, but they did do a chest X-ray to see if maybe something more was at play here.
Remember.
And nothing was there. Okay.
Donna's gonna get on the stand and talk about all of her health issues, and that's part of why she's asking for bond, right? She's got all these health issues and they're not being treated and da. So that's why this matters.
Donna Adelson complained of pain in her left shoulder arm area. Was an X-ray done of that area as well to see whether there was any fractures, dislocation, something that she needed further treatment for?
Yes,
And was there any fracture or dislocation seen on the X-ray? Was that a no?
no,
Did medical staff give her some range of motion exercises she could do to possibly help with her pain in her shoulder?
based on notes, I think the limited range of motion was the provider's assessment of it. So there was noted that she had limited range of motion, and that's what indicated the need for the X-ray just to see where we were at.
Okay. So they did notice the limited range of motion. They did the X-ray, and the X-ray was negative.
Yes,
Okay. And did Donna Adelson report mild pain to the provider on February 3rd, 2025 regarding her left upper extremity with a limited range of motion?
yes,
If either of these X-rays, be it the left upper extremity or the chest, showed need for further treatment, that showed that she does have this necessity that needs to be addressed, would the jail have gotten the treatment that she needed?
yes.
Let me ask you a couple of other things. Throughout her medical records,
Judge, I'm going to object at this point.
What is the basis?
The basis of the objection is we were provided late last week, with a stack of medical records that are from the jail facility regarding Mrs. Adelson. We inquired as to what the lawful process was used in order to obtain those medical records, and we never got a response from the state. And before this hearing started this morning, I asked if they were going to introduce the medical records, and they're not. But it's clear that they've had discussions with this witness about Mrs. Adelson's medical records. They did not give notice of issuance of a subpoena so that we could object. We're not aware of any search warrant that's been given. Our client certainly didn't sign a waiver anyway, so it appears that they have unlawfully obtained the medical records of our client, and this witness's testimony should be stricken from the record and no further testimony allowed.
Still response?
Wow.
I was not aware that they did not get a response from Mr. Newlin about how these were obtained. I can ask Mr. Newlin what exactly his subpoena issuance entailed to get the records. I reviewed them this week since I was in trial last week, and the witness has obviously reviewed them because he's a medical administrator and would have access to them regardless. I am not moving them into evidence because I know if they're moved into evidence, then they're obviously going to be all of her medical records into evidence. I just plan to ask the witnesses about them as far as the certain things that are relevant to the motion.
So we do not have to prolong this. Mr. Hayden, if you can step down for a moment to determine how the records were obtained.
Interesting.
As part of the motion for setting bond does go to the sufficiency of medical care.
Right. That's what I was literally just going to say. I was going to say, hang on. Part of what her grounds are, as she's asking the court to grant bond, are because of the sufficiency of medical care. And literally, the only things that she's asking him about are the things that Donna Adelson complained about in her motion that we read, literally. So, like, how do you use these as grounds to hope to get bond, right? And then expect to not have them come up, like. Anyway, we'll see what happens here.
In that way, if Mr. Hayden has knowledge of the care that has been given and what has taken place concerning your client, he is permitted to testify to that. As to any other records, if there's a lawful objection that you wish to make, that will be addressed. Please bring in Mr. Hayden.
Thank you.
Okay, so the bringing. Okay.
Could I have a couple of questions I could ask Mr. Hayden while he's on his way down that don't pertain to the medical records?
That's fine.
Okay.
Please take the stand again, Mr. Hayden.
Just because I know we're on a time crunch with the witness on Zoom.
Okay, there's a witness on Zoom. Okay. So they're bringing him back in, Mr. Hayden.
Does the medical staff at Leon County Jail practice evidence-based medicine?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So for medicine, evidence-based is all the peer review, so past studies, it's what every medical professional should be using in the community. It's just based on prior trial and error resources, studies, research.
Do they, does that mean that the doctors not only aren't just listening to what the inmate is telling them is wrong, but they're also looking at
Evidence-based medicine. You know where she's going with this, right? Like if somebody tells you something's wrong, but then you can't,
ordering tests, looking at x-rays, observing the patient to see if they also have any other evidence besides what the inmate is saying is wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Why might that be important to do at a jail?
Well, the majority of
I'm literally just going to say.
patients lack the knowledge or education about their personal health. Many of them have never been diagnosed with things, especially mental health disorders. We found people have cancer and never realized it. So it's important that the providers use the community standards and evidence-based to make sure we're providing the appropriate care.
Do inmates at the jail, could inmates at the jail also have a secondary reason or gain as to?
Yeah. And what I appreciate is I knew that's why she was asking this question. I appreciate that that's not where his mind went. When she asked the question, like, why is it that you do it that way, right? I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, right? Because they want to try to get out of jail or get out on bond or be, have some sort of special treatment, right? But I appreciate that that was not his response to that question. She had to make it a little bit more obvious.
Saying that they have some sort of medical issue that they may not really have.
Absolutely.
Is that as far as being able to get out of custody, being able to go stay in a hospital or a treatment center as opposed to being in custody at a jail?
Or attempt to escape, yes.
Okay. And so is that an important reason why the jail staff turns to x-rays, their physical observations through their evaluation of the patient or any other evidence that they can point to see that there is some medical treatment or medical necessity there?
I can't speak for the jail staff, but as far as the healthcare staff, we use evidence-based to ensure that we're providing adequate care.
Okay. And does the jail prescribe narcotic pain medication?
No.
Okay. So the pain medication that Donna Adelson and other inmates receive for pain is over-the-counter type medication.
Correct.
jail not to prescribe narcotic pain medication?
So that is something that usually most jails and facilities don't because it's a
Obviously.
currency. It's highly abused and it can cause safety issues within the facility.
So someone
Okay.
can say they need it and they don't really need it to support some type of addiction to it.
Correct.
Or even if they do really need it, it could cause other inmates, they could cause them to be a target by other inmates.
Yes.
No kidding. If you were prescribing an inmate a narcotic pain medication, somebody would get murdered over that shit. I guarantee you.
I think that's all I have.
Are you planning to go any further examination on the line that you were inquiring of before, Ms. Dugan?
No, sir.
Step down, Mr. Hayden.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, before you do, please, cross-examination by the defense.
Okay, cross.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning.
You coming here today, did you have an opportunity to discuss the medical condition of Mrs. Adelson with anyone at the state?
Outside right here.
Okay, and who did you speak with here?
You can
Female
say-
prosecutor
Female
was questioning
prosecutor.
you? Okay, and the medical records that were provided to the state attorney's office, did you review all of those?
I did.
You did. When did you review those?
Over the course of, just knowing it's a patient of ours.
Okay. You testified, I want to make sure I understand correctly, Mrs., the prosecutor just asked you about the button being in some units where if there was a medical emergency that the inmates could alert the staff that they were having a medical emergency. Did I understand your answer to be that those are in some of the cells in the medical unit,
Yes, ma'am.
not in the other units?
Correct.
And you indicated that the way that an inmate is supposed to request medical care is there's a form that they're supposed to complete, correct?
Remember what I said about those forms? The forms are going to come up again.
Right,
Yes.
okay, and
Where's the
you know
Elmo?
how within the staff at the jail, those are given to the inmate?
Oh, no.
Yes, they're provided by custody staff and the nurses also carry them.
Okay, are you aware from the record that you reviewed that Mrs. Adelson actually requested most recently on February the
Ah.
1st when she was cut on the metal of a washing machine in the unit that she actually requested, the nurse who was present inside the pod in the annex where she was, she requested a form so she could make a request for a Band-Aid and they said they didn't have any? Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that, but I do see that she placed a sick call request and she was seen.
Ms. Fulford, before you continue, I believe you just objected to the state in any way referencing the record.
No kidding. Literally what I was saying. That they want to get into all this with the medical stuff because of the bond, and then they objected to it, and now they're getting in. Like, what?
That you appear to be cross-examining on
I
now.
thought you were asking me to do my cross, Judge.
I am asking you to be.
Oh my God! Don't even. Okay. Don't even try to play like that, Judge Everett. No. Okay. Let's just review. So we had this witness on direct, right? This defense attorney, Ms. Zellman, I think her name is, she objected whenever they were, after there were questions that were coming out about the medical records, which are the very reasons that they're here today asking for bond, part of their grounds for that, right? And so then they said, okay, well, the solution for this is in order to see how this was turned over, we need to bring back in Mr. Newlin, who was on the stand initially, to ask him how those records got turned over, and et cetera, et cetera. And then to save time, Ms. Dugan was like, well, while we're waiting on him to come back down, can we just go ahead and I'll just ask some more questions of this witness, Mr. Hayden, just to be efficient with the time. So in other words, what this means is that the questions pertaining to the medical records are now tabled until they've got investigative Newlin coming back in to answer those questions. And as per the defense's request, okay? So Sarah Dugan finished asking this witness all the questions she could ask without going further into the medical records. And then Judge Everett said, okay, cross-examination, as in obviously on the things that were just discussed, not the medical records. Why? We're still waiting on Investigator Newlin. Why? Because you objected. So now she's like, well, I thought you said I could do my cross. What is happening? I don't understand.
However, if you are going to examine the witness,
Wow.
examine the record you're objecting to the state using,
Yeah.
the state, that will be available to the state, all
Well,
topics they're raised.
No kidding.
And I don't want cross until we find out how they got the records because my cross is all about that.
Please bring in Investigator Newlin, Mr. Hayden, you may step down.
I'm already annoyed with that defense attorney.
Not yet.
That's
You
dumb.
may step down from now.
Heather's here. Yay. Hey, Heather. We also have a new command for the Elmo. So there. Okay. What a whirlwind. So now we've got Investigator Newlin
You
back.
remain under oath. Ms. Dugan, you may inquire as to how the records of the defendant were obtained as to her medical records.
How were the medical records of the defendant obtained?
By subpoena.
Let me go to the microphone. Who did you subpoena?
Yes, Care.
Is that a company who maintains the medical records for the jail?
I believe it's the medical oversight for the Leon County Detention Facility.
And what, do you remember the day that occurred?
So there's been twice that this occurred. We had a hearing previously, several months back. a while ago after transport, where we had to subpoena the records. And yes, I brought those with them then. And then last week, I got asked to draft another subpoena for records for this hearing, and that was the extent.
So for everyone who's joining us, Donna has not taken the stand yet. She will take the stand twice today. Key things that we've learned so far: the hot mic phone call. We learned that when Donna was still on the phone being recorded, Charlie was trying to call back like 4 or 5 times and couldn't get through. Why? Donna was still on the line. Another key thing that we learned was that when the call, where we hear the call end, when she says they're not recording my phone, and if they were, and then it just abruptly ends, that is not where that recording actually ends. So that is not Donna finding out that her phone's recorded and hanging up. There's more to that phone call. That's just not been released yet. So we probably won't hear that until trial. So we don't know yet the circumstances under which she finds out that her phone was on and it was recording still. But we didn't know until today that that there was more to that recording. So
Is that by Ms. Kappelman or Mr.
Yes.
Toomey?
My understanding is Mr. Toomey advised Ms. Kappelman to have a subpoena drafted.
Okay, so she's asking him questions and he says, I need a subpoena. And so then you did the subpoena.
Correct.
Okay. And then was the subpoena sent to Mr. Toomey? Or to Yes Care?
To Yes Care, yeah, which he's the representative.
How long did it take to get the records back after the subpoena was sent?
I honestly don't know if we have them back. I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
Any other information you can give us about the subpoena process?
That's it.
Do you know if we did receive a copy of the records, would they have been sent to by Ms. Kappelman's assistant?
That's standard. Once we receive it, we'll put it in discovery and provide it, yeah.
Okay. Did you have any conversations in the last week or two with the defense about the subpoena process?
No.
Okay. Anything else from the court?
I have no other questions concerning this. Does the defense have any questions as to the subpoena?
Yes, but I have just a moment, Judge.
Donna was very emotional during listening to the jail phone call recordings.
Prior to obtaining the subpoena, did you give any notice to defense attorneys on behalf of Ms. Adelson that you were going to seek her medical records?
No.
Were you instructed to do that by anyone in the state attorney's office?
No.
Do you just typically the practice that you use obtaining medical records without giving notice to the defense?
No, my understanding was Mr. Toomey said, please provide me a subpoena and I will bring the records with me to the hearing. That's the extent of what I understood to occur.
I don't have anything further this week.
Yeah, and if they had to bring the records,
Do we have
you
any
asked for this,
examination
dude.
as to the subpoena or the obtaining of records?
No, sir.
Ms. Step down, Investigator.
Okay.
And if you can take the witness stand once again.
All right, now Mr. Hayden's coming back. Cool. Amish chanting. I don't remember the significance of that.
Concerning the examination of Mr. Hayden, I will rule the following.
Okay.
Any knowledge that he has based on his independent review of the records as a member of the jail staff providing medical care to the inmates. If he has knowledge of the defendant's records, he certainly may testify on that basis. If the defense is continuing to object to any use of the records by the state today, that will be handled as a separate matter. However, as well, if there is going to be cross-examination as to the specifically objected to records, that is going to open the door on any redirect topics raised.
Open the
You may
door.
continue your cross-examination at this point.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, she's continuing cross. Okay, not direct. I mean, okay. Now she's
You
doing
indicated in your testimony that at the jail, the health care that's provided would be for basic life-saving techniques. Is that
As
it?
far as emergencies.
emergencies.
Just for emergencies.
Donna did not have an
Advanced life-saving
emergency.
medications that have to be sent to the emergency room.
Okay, and you also indicated in your testimony that the medical care provider, the doctor, I guess, who it is, who may be
Twiz was
treating
here. I
the
don't know
inmate
what
who's
Twiz
requested
said.
medical care, makes their decision based on evidence. Is that right?
Evidence-based practice.
Okay, and your evidence-based practice, your testimony was, could be what they observed with the particular inmate and other evidence as well. Is that right?
So evidence-based practices, we use a standard like community, the same level of care that you would get in the community is what we provide.
Evidence-based practices. So again, this whole thing, right? Like, did Donna's injuries rise to a medical emergency? I think not. I don't know where Twiz is. Twiz was here earlier. And, also just want to say too, like, sadly, we didn't get any more Idaho docs today. I'm sure you guys are aware, but fingers crossed for tomorrow on that, right?
I'm sorry?
Use community-based practice. So evidence is based on evidence-based practice.
And the evidence that you would have is whatever the inmate is providing to you,
This
correct?
is letting us
So
know here.
basically what it is if someone has heart failure, there's a system that we use to make sure that that patient is being cared for appropriately based on the
Heart
indications,
failure.
what the illness does to the body, things like that. So it's a standard way of practicing medicine.
On that practice, then the standard way of practicing medicine, if someone tells you they're experiencing shortness of breath, you said an x-ray was done because she made that complaint, correct?
She was assessed, and then the provider also added the extra today, yes.
Okay, and that's something that should be done as part of the normal.
And they found there was nothing
Someone says,
wrong
"I've
with
got
her."
shortness of breath, you
Her
should get
brain.
in for an x-ray. That's part of what should take place,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. So they did the x-ray. There was nothing wrong with her lungs. The problem is in her brain, and there's nothing they can do about that. Heather, in case you missed it, there's big
Part of
Bible news.
the medical care that's provided by your company, Leon County Detention Facility, do you all do steroid injections in the spine?
No, that would be something that would be sent out for a consult to a specialist.
And do you do that without court order?
To provide care?
Yes,
Yes, we can provide care without a court order.
you do. That's the policy at the Leon County Detention Facility, that if a specialist is required, you will send the inmate out without a required court order if it's a non-emergency
We
situation.
send people out for non-emergency consults
Okay, great.
almost daily. Yes, ma'am.
And as far as the hearing issue goes, you said that the decision about not doing the procedure within her ear, that's because you all don't provide it.
Currently, we just got this request, and this is something that is new to us. We never had any history or any records of that. When she made the issue, when she put the request in, she was assessed by the provider, and the provider saw nothing on her assessment. Not to say that if there is an actual need, we can accommodate that. We can coordinate her care.
So that was a recent request as far as you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything further.
Redirect examination.
So that's important.
Recent
Because
event.
remember, one of the things that Donna is saying is that she needs to get out on bond because she has these issues that they can't address while she's in custody. He's saying we certainly can. We can, without a court order, we can send her out for other care that she might need. So the big Wendi, the Fievel news is that, hold on, let me put Fievel on the screen here. The Fievel news is that more has come out, that they're coming for her very soon. And specifically, I heard from Joel Waldman, who's connected to everybody in this case, that there's specifically like one of Wendy's best friends from college or something has provided the state with some new information. So looks like time's running out for Fievel, essentially. So fingers crossed on that.
The request as to the
Makes
hearings
sense.
occurred in February
Correct.
of
So
2025.
reason is, based on her medical history that she reported at the time she was looked in.
Okay. And the doctor did not notice any hearing loss at that time, or didn't
Based
note
on
any hearing
Right,
loss.
based on the report, her assessment.
Okay. And every
We
time
don't know.
You're
not gonna say-
the doctors have reported that her
Remember-
respiratory system appeared clear. She appeared
Remember,
cognitive.
Fievel is in Austin, and she can be watching any of this stuff. We don't know, and they're not going to tell us what exactly the person said. That would be, that would be not smart. So, what if Fievel goes west? I know, right? Or what if Fievel goes south to Mexico? Really is the question.
issue receiving
Although
air,
that's an
Correct.
extradition
and her
country.
oxygen levels, her pulse oxygen levels were always around about 98. Is that normal to be like between 96 and 100?
So in normal ranges.
For the cut that she received on Saturday, February 1st, she ended up receiving Neosporin and a Band-Aid for her cut.
Yes, and then
Got
they
a
followed,
Band-Aid.
I believe it was a week after, about 7 days after the initial assessment, the skin protocol was initiated, and they found that there was no signs, symptoms of infection. And at that time, she was educated to report any signs or any worsening of the condition.
And she did receive a tetanus shot,
Yes.
just in case. That's all.
You may step down, Mr. Hayden.
Okay.
Let's
Donna?
resume with the suppression aspect of this at this time.
Judge, may we be excused?
Your excuse me. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Let's resume with the suppression portion at this time. Does the defense have any other witnesses or evidence it wishes to present as it relates to the burden in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor. Offense called Donna Adelson.
Yes. Holy shit.
Please come up to
Here,
the witness stand, Ms. Adelson.
here we go, guys. Hold on. So this is our first time. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And here's why. Donna has not testified at any of these previous trials or hearings or anything. We have not, we've heard a lot from her on the jail calls, right? But we've not heard from her in court. And I was shocked that she took the stand, not just one time, but twice. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, I was not thinking that Donna might take the stand in her own trial starting in June. However, after today, it looks like I think she will. it looks like she wants to take the stand. So we're going to do a swoop because this is a momentous occasion here. And in honor of the Wendi news, we'll do the Wendi swoop.
I have that start.
All right. Let's go.
Witness stand.
Oh my
Please raise
God.
your hand as best as you can. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take the seat. Please speak loudly and clearly. You may examine Mr. Zellman when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Here we go. Wow.
Morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the record and make sure you speak in the microphone?
Yes, Donna Adelson.
Now, I want to direct your attention, we heard the call earlier. The call on November 7th, 2023 at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And for the record, that was call number 561. Do you remember where you worked?
Yes, I was in my apartment in my living room.
Do you remember who was present when you got the call?
Yes, my husband Harvey, and friends of mine, my attorney, Susan Brotman, and her husband, Richard Chevron.
You said your attorney, what kind of law does Ms. Brotman practice? Or did she?
She does estate planning.
Estate planning. Remember.
Was Ms. Brotman present at your apartment for the purposes of providing you with legal counsel?
Yes, she was.
Right. She was trying to get the estate shit taken care of because they were planning on leaving the country. Remember, she had also another attorney, and that was Dan Rashbaum, who was referenced in that call.
And you remember receiving the call from Charlie?
Yes, of course.
And where was Charlie at the time?
So he was in a room by himself. It was after the conviction.
Was he in jail?
He was in jail.
Okay. What did you do when you saw that Charlie's call?
Answered the phone.
And you heard the recording that we played earlier?
Yes.
You used to call me on my cell
And you
phone.
agreed for your call with your son to be recorded, correct?
Yes.
As the call was happening, do you know at what point Charlie was no
Call
longer
me
on
on my
call?
cell phone.
No, only when because I was talking, and then all of a sudden I asked him something, and I said, "Charlie, do you hear me, Charlie?" And I said it a few times, and he didn't respond anymore. And I knew the call was over.
Now, in the course, during the
They're trying
time
to
that
suppress
your
his
son was
call.
incarcerated in Leon County Jail, did that happen more than, was that a frequent occurrence?
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Okay. And would there be times when you didn't realize at first that he was no longer on call?
Yes.
Where in your apartment were you when this happened?
So I was in my living room.
She already said that.
And you heard your voice on that first call number 562, when you repeated, Charlie, Charlie, are you there?
Right.
Did you believe the call had ended?
Yes.
And what would, in times prior
That
to
makes
this,
no
what would
sense.
happen after that? What would you do when that would happen?
If he didn't respond anymore, that was it. The call was over.
No, you would hang up.
What would you do with your phone?
I hang up.
You didn't hang up. That's
Now,
the thing. That's the crux of this.
Same thing with the call.
No, you did not hang up, obviously.
On November 8th of 2023, the one at 6:30 in the morning. Do you know at what point your son was no longer on the phone?
I don't. I don't remember though.
In either one of those situations, or in both of those situations, did you believe the call was over
Yeah, the call was over. He was gone.
and you went about your business?
Yes.
Now, with respect to the November 7th,
Had she hung up, it would not have been recorded.
2023 phone call when your attorney, her husband, and your husband were present at your apartment, did you agree for your attorney-client conversation to be recorded?
No.
Did you agree for your conversation with your husband to be recorded?
No. Of course not.
Now, the following day, Did you agree for your subsequent conversation with your husband to be recorded?
No.
Oh. Is there another one we don't know about? Another hot mic?
Now, you heard the recording. To consent to this call, press 1. Or recording of this call, press 1. Correct?
Correct.
You hung up the phone after those calls were over.
Thought I did.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Okay.
Cross-examination.
All right. Cross. You're Dugan again?
Good morning.
So there in the room with you during this call was, you said your, one of your attorneys, Susan Brotman, your husband, and then also Susan Brotman's husband.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And he was not your attorney,
He was not.
your attorney.
No, he's not an attorney.
Okay.
The reason that matters, right, is because, you know, if the defense wants to try to go with, it was attorney-client privilege that was recorded, I don't think that would go very far anyway, but the fact that there was another party present that's not an attorney, which was the husband, now there's no privilege, right? Remember, whenever there's a third party around, any attorney-client privilege is waived. So
You were informed at the beginning of that call, this is the one on November 7th that recorded you while they were all in the room. You were informed that you were being recorded if you accepted that call.
Yes.
Okay. And that if you do not want to be
You could have hung up,
recorded call,
Donna.
you needed to hang up the call. Is that right?
Are you saying, does the recording say,
Right. If you do not want to accept that recorded call, you should hang up.
if you do not, yeah, no, I accepted the recorded call.
Okay. And you typically do hang up your calls, you said, after
I mean, I think I
your
did,
call with
yeah.
Charlie Adelson when he was in custody. All right. But this particular call that day, evidently you did not properly hang up, right?
Evidently.
Okay. And have you ever forgotten to press a button on a call before?
It may have happened. I don't know.
Sure. Has your phone pocket dialed people before?
Has it, what,
Pocket dialed people before? When you've been out of custody.
pocket dialed?
Oh my
I don't know
God.
what you mean.
Like if your phone is in your pocket or in your purse and it
Butt
accidentally
dial.
calls someone you
Butt
didn't need it to.
I mean, it could have happened, sure.
Okay. And you also could have not pressed the button on your cell phone to end a call before, right?
That's possible.
Okay. It's not quite as big of a deal as it used to be when you would actually have to like, hang up the phone.
Right.
Right. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Redirect examination.
Briefly, Your Honor. The consent that you gave for the call to be recorded, when did that end?
It ended when Charlie hung up or when whatever stopped the call. I mean, I don't know how it stopped, but it stopped. When the call was over with Charlie, it was over.
No.
Nothing further.
You messed up, Donna.
Okay. I think you touching my kicker. This is not going to go very far. Oh my God. Look at her acting all evil. She's put on a lot of weight too, being in custody. She was skinny before this.
As to the burden up this.
Do you guys remember like when she was arrested at the airport and stuff? Like she's put on a lot of weight.
Precedent established by Smiley versus State in order to exclude what are complained of wiretapped interceptions. The movement has a need to show there was a subjective expectation of privacy in their statements, and the expectation is one that society would accept as reasonable. As to the subjective expectation showing the defendant has met that burden, it now shifts to the state as to whether this is one that is reasonable. Ms. Dugan?
Yes, sir. I have argument.
Okay, so now they're going to argue on this.
May I provide the court with some case law?
You may.
I've got some argument and then I'll kind of go through each one of these cases. I provided a defense copy of these earlier this morning. So in defendant's motion, they first argued that this was, a warrantless search. However, the state's argument is that this is not subject to Fourth Amendment. So there's no wrongful state action that caused this defendant to be reported after the inmate was no longer on the call. The only conceivable state action here was the state having this service that allows inmates to make recorded calls. But on those calls, both parties have to consent to be recorded for the call to begin. And if they do not want to be recorded or need to hang up, the state didn't intend to record this defendant's conversation in her home with her husband and friends. And it was the fact that she was recorded was not caused by the state's actions. It was caused by the defendant's actions.
Correct.
The defendant argues that they have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the call, but that would only start once this defendant actually hangs up. And the defendant is the one responsible for hanging up, not the state. The defendant was responsible for the interception of the phone call. It was her failure to hang up that caused that rest of that call to be recorded. It was her action and not the state action that made that happen. The state did nothing to keep her from hanging up the phone and prevent her from hanging up the phone. I think an analogy here would be if someone were to say something incriminating in earshot of a law enforcement officer because they think the law enforcement officer can't hear them. If they can actually hear them, then that's on the speaker because the speaker didn't walk away to talk. That was the speaker's carelessness. The defense also cites Florida Statute 934 and says that the good faith exception doesn't apply because this call was a violation of that statute. But when you look at 934.03, every single subsection of that statute applies to intentional intercepts, not general. I provided several cases to the court. There's nothing directly on point here of this situation having happened just like this in the past, but there are a lot of cases that deal with inadvertent recordings. One of the first cases I gave to you is Baronet. This is a U.S. Court of Appeals case from the Sixth Circuit that held that police interception conversations between the defendants that was overheard when a telephone that was subject to a court-authorized wiretap was inadvertently left off the hook by the defendant. That was authorized under the plain view exception to the warrant requirement. In that case, the state had an actual Title III wire on the defendant's phone. The defendant was on a call and then didn't properly hang up the call. They left the phone off the hook accidentally. And then law enforcement was able to hear the conversation in the room where that phone was located. So when you compare that to our case, there's obviously a much different type of state action in that case with a wire. But regardless, this was a recorded line. It was a legally recorded line where they intended to be recorded. Just like in our case, though, the defendant in that case failed to properly hang up, and that allowed law enforcement to hear the conversation in the room. And that was able to be authorized because of the inadvertent nature of the recording. Another was Otero versus State. This is a third DCA case from Florida where a child accidentally activated an answering machine of a home that she was staying at. And that answering machine recorded the conversation of the mother and the child unbeknownst to either of them. The third DCA found that admission of that tape into evidence did not violate the statutory exclusionary rule found in 934 because 934 prohibits intentional interception of wire communication. And that taping in that case was accidental, not intentional, just like in our case. There's another case that I provided to the court, Bell versus State. In that case, a girlfriend began to record her conversation with her boyfriend, who was the appellant. And that conversation that she wanted to record was about money, an argument about money between them. The appellant, Bell, then took the phone from her and kept the phone after the argument ended and the girlfriend left the house. The girlfriend's young daughter was still at the house, and after the girlfriend left, the defendant was intoxicated and forgot to turn off the audio recording. There was then a recording, as the recording kept going, it recorded him molesting the girlfriend's young daughter after the girlfriend left the house. The girlfriend then discovered the audio recording next day and handed it over to police. The defendant was charged with L&L molestation. In that case, the recording of this molestation was obviously inadvertent, and the defendant agreed with that. Only the first conversation about money was what the girlfriend was trying to intend before the phone was taken from her. And that phone was in the appellant's custody and control at the time of this recording of the L&L molestation. The DCA in that case said that the trial court did not err in concluding that Mr. Bell failed to prove that his girlfriend intentionally intercepted the portion of the recording that took place while she was gone. Unless his girlfriend intentionally violated the statute, he was not entitled to the benefit of the statutory exclusionary rule. Because the recording was fictitious, but after she warned him she was going to record him, he took possession of the device that recorded his words and actions. And so the court found that the appellant did not establish that the communications were intercepted under any circumstances justifying an expectation of privacy. I have one more case that concerns the reasonable expectation of privacy. This is the Huff case that I provided to the court, which is a federal case where the plaintiff, a federal civil case, where the plaintiff inadvertently pocket dialed the defendant, which is something that has happened to us all. And the defendant listened to and recorded the conversation she overheard while on the pocket dial call. The plaintiff then brought suit for the defendant intentionally intercepting this private conversation. And in that conversation, the plaintiff was basically having a discussion with his wife and with other people as well in the room. The court ruled the plaintiff's statements did not qualify under Title III because he exposed them to the defendant when he pocket dialed her. But the plaintiff's wife's statements did qualify. She can't be held responsible for her husband's pocket dial. But the thing that I think is most important about that case is the court's holding that a person who knowingly operates a device that is capable of inadvertently exposing his conversation to third-party listeners and fails to take simple precautions to prevent such exposure does not have a reasonable expectation of privacy with respect to statements that are exposed to an outsider by the inadvertent operation of that device. So in that case, the statements didn't qualify under as ones that were protected under the U.S. Code. And that's what we have here. We have the defendant failing to take simple precautions of properly hanging up what she knows is a recorded call. So the state would ask that the defense motion be denied.
Final argument on the motion is pressed from the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And there are two cases, I cited a number of cases. I know Your Honor's practice to review those in addition. There are two additional cases I provided copies to the state that I am relying on. Versus Hens versus State, 62 Southern 3rd, 1184. State versus Mozo, 655 Southern 2nd, 1115. May I approach?
You may.
So, Your Honor, I want to start with a very general proposition. It's important for us to remember. Right to privacy is enshrined in the Florida Constitution. Article 1, Section 23 provides the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures and against the unreasonable interception of private communications by any means shall not be violated. Article 1, Section 23, Florida Constitution also provides that every natural person has the right to be, let alone the free of governmental intrusion into the person's private life. Fourth Amendment includes similar protections. 934.02 defines an oral communication as any oral communication uttered by a person exhibiting an expectation that such communication is not subject to interception under circumstances justifying such expectation. The courts have held in Florida, cited in my motion, for an oral conversation to be protected, the speaker must have an objective expectation of privacy, along with a societal recognition that the expectation is reasonable. Your Honor, in State versus Mozo, almost 20 years ago, courts have held that conversations, oral communications taking place in one's home are protected by Chapter 934.
I don't think this point is reasonably in dispute, but go ahead.
Now, the question, obviously, is the objective portion of this test. And Hens versus State, 4th DCA, and Hens is a situation, Your Honor, where an individual was in an interview at a police department. He placed a call to essentially a co-conspirator, co-defendant, and the recording equipment was powerful enough in that interview room to pick up the other end of the call that is made to Hens. Based on what law enforcement heard from the individual who was calling Mr. Hens, they obtained a search warrant for his cell phone. And on the cell phone, they found images that are illegal to possess, as well as other evidence of the crime that the two of them engaged in. The Hens court held that, and another important factor, Your Honor, Mr. Hens was aware that the individual on the other end of the phone was at the police department waiting to speak to law enforcement. Court held that Hens had a subjective expectation of privacy, and his expectation was one society accepts as reasonable. Now, one distinguishing factor I need to acknowledge that, but I submit it's not dispositive, is that while Hens did not know that the individual was sitting in the police interview room, whereas Mrs. Adelson knew that Charlie was in jail and had consented to her call with Charlie being recorded, but the oral communication that is protected by Chapter 934 that is at issue here are conversations that Mrs. Adelson had after Charlie dropped off the call, when she believed the call was no longer being recorded. Conversation, at least with respect to November 7th, is with her attorney and her husband. Both are confidential relationships.
Doesn't the warning, though, about the recording almost directly speak to that issue where, I'll read the case that you've given me about Hens. Although he knew his friend was at the police station, he never received an explicit warning about you may be recorded if you continue on this conversation.
Correct, and I'm going to get to that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. the testimony, uncontroverted testimony, is that Mrs. Adelson believes she hung the phone up once she realized Charlie was no longer on the call. There's no evidence otherwise. And I don't think it is reasonable to require an individual in a situation like that, I just had a recorded phone call, let me repeatedly hit the end button. Hit it once, that should be enough. She believed that she ended the phone call. Now, Pence also addressed something else that I think is important. Chapter 934.03 is a general intent statute. It does not require that the state intentionally recorded after one party of this jail call drops off. It's not required. Was the system designed to intentionally record? The answer has to be yes. Investigator Newlin testified, yes, intentionally designed to record. Now, the state, I anticipated that they would argue accident or inadvertence. This is not an accident. An accident is something that doesn't happen frequently. Mrs. Adelson testified this happened. The call, Charlie dropping off the call would happen frequently. As Investigator Newlin acknowledged in Defense Exhibit 3 and Defense Exhibit 1 established, this was not an isolated issue. This happened. The system is intentionally designed to continue recording. Under Chapter 934, I submit that when either side of the call is no longer on the call, that the system has to stop recording, and any additional recording is a violation. And that's what we have here. This is not an accident. This is not inadvertent. Securis
The phone call was to
technology
Charlie
system
at
is
the jail.
designed to continue to record after either one of those parties drops off the call. Investigator Newlin said that it terminates when both parties hang up. Well, I submit, Your Honor, that that's not what happens. It continues to record, and it is not reasonable. And society is not expecting that somebody sit there with their phone and continue to hit the end button to make sure that the call stops on their end. I think that's
But do you have to continue to hit the end button, or you hit it once?
Right.
It's disconnected.
testimony is that she did.
No,
Go
she
ahead.
didn't say that. She did not
So,
say that.
because
She
this is
did
not a
say
specific
that.
intent statute.
No.
Is this system designed to intend to record? Yes. And there's no evidence that this was accidental or inadvertent. This is not a pocket dial, as the state argued.
So this was addressed, they addressed this earlier, but the problem is that the call. So here's the thing. It's not like there's a person listening to these calls when they happen or manually choosing to record. All the phone calls are recorded until the phone call is disconnected, like when the phone call ends. So what happened was Charlie got dropped from the call, and that happened all the time. It happens in other prison calls too. You know, it's just whatever, you know. So Charlie got disconnected, but Donna was still, in other words, the only person who knew that, like, Charlie knew he was disconnected. He was trying to call Donna back, couldn't get through because Donna was still on the line with him, right? And so in order for the call to end, which would stop the recording, Donna needed to hang up. And she hung up every other time that the calls were dropped. She hung up, but she did not hang up this time. So she knew Charlie wasn't there, but she did not hang up. Therefore, the call is still on. Therefore, the recording is still on. The recording doesn't, there's no one listening there for like a person and then choosing when to listen or not. It's just an automatic process. So, right, the recording could no. So there's a distinction here, right? With the also, welcome back, Tonka. The distinction is that the call had not ended. Charlie had lost signal or service or whatever it was. The call had not ended because if the call, in order for the call to end, both parties would either need to hang up, or in the case again where like what happened here, where Charlie was disconnected, Donna needed to hang up. The call did not end. That's the distinction that they're making, is like, when does the call end, right? The call ends when it's hung up, when both parties have disconnected. So Twiz is saying my point is that when agreed to the recording, the phone call was to Charlie, not to the recorder thing. Well, we've heard of them play several times today, the wording in the message, and the way the message is that the message is an automated message. It doesn't know who the person's talking to, right? It just says this call is being recorded. It doesn't say while you're talking to a certain person or a person. It just says this call is being recorded. If you're an attorney, hang up and press the other number. You know what I mean? She agreed to the recording of the call. There was no languaging in the automated system that says while the other person is still there. It just doesn't. Even you heard the state say there's no example of something this specific happening where, like, this is a unique situation, right? Normally people would know that the call had dropped and they would hang up. So this was not like, in other words, the automated message does not give instructions saying if you hear the other person's not still there, hang up and then the call won't be recorded. It's so specific, right? Yeah, any jail call is recorded. And if we want to, we can go back and listen to the languaging on those on the message. Exactly, that's the thing. All she needed to do is look at her phone, and she would have seen it was still going. Like, in other words, it's not like on her phone it would have looked like it hung up. On her phone, and remember, they're being charged for the time. If she just simply looked at her phone, she would have seen that the call was still on. She just didn't look at her phone and hang up. Like, that's why and it's clear that she had it on speakerphone. That, like, my imagination of this is like she had the phone on the table, right, on speakerphone, and just didn't go back over to the phone and look at the phone, or she would have hung up. But let me know if you guys want to go back and listen to the actual wording in the message of the Securis thing.
We know that Charlie intentionally called his mom. We know that the system intentionally recorded the call. The state has not presented sufficient evidence to establish this is not a communication that society is, that there's a reasonable expectation that society would accept that this call is anything other than something that is entitled to protection 934 and the Florida Constitution.
We'll review the cases that were presented by both parties before making any ruling. I'll reserve on the ruling as to today. We'll take a brief 5-minute break before we get into the Arthur and Bond motion.
Okay.
We'll be in recess.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to jump in and we're going to get into the bond.
That's thing on the record.
And also for Arthur hearing.
Thank you, Judge. May I put one more thing on the record for this impression that I had in my notes and I forgot to say it?
Only one?
One.
Just one. Go ahead.
So in the call that the defense moved into evidence, the call from November 7th, that's in dispute here. At the end of the call, HARVEY Adelson says something along the lines of, like the last thing that you hear, something along the lines of, what's this? A call that didn't end. The implication being he must have picked up the phone and saw that the call didn't end. I think this is important to note because had Donna Adelson looked at her phone, she
There
would
it is.
seen the same thing.
Literally
That's
twist. Literally twist right there. Had she looked at her phone, she would have seen the same thing.
59 seconds exactly.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, the system, the Securis is intentionally designed to continue recording after the inmate disconnects. And the system knew that Charlie had been disconnected because he tried calling back, and the system like this. Investigator will testify.
I just pulled the banner down, but the banner will always say what it's doing, right? So this was, and it's in the thumbnail, it's in the title. This hearing today was for two things: the motion to suppress that phone call that we were just talking about, that they're still talking about, and then the second thing is the bond. Okay, so they were just wrapping up, and they're just wrapping up here now the motion to suppress, and it's that jail phone call. Now we're getting into the bond.
Use.
Let's move on to the Arthur hearing at this portion.
Okay, now it's the bond.
Is the defense wishing to present its argument as to bond, or is the state going to present first as to proof of guilt evident or presumption grade?
I'd prefer we do bond first, if that's okay with the defense, just because the state does have a couple of witnesses as to the things they brought up in their motion. And then I'm not calling any witnesses for Arthur. I'll just be moving some things into evidence, so maybe we can do that last.
Mr. Zeldin, as to the bond portion of this, do you have witnesses?
We do, Your Honor. State would call Donna Adelson.
Okay,
Adelson, you
guys.
can retake the
and
stand
she's
once
back.
again. You remain under oath.
Wow.
You are sworn to tell the truth.
Wow. She's back, guys. Okay, here we go. She's got to make her case for that she should be granted bond. How do you think it's going to go? Holy shit. And she's back. Wow. So we're going to hear all about her problems in custody. We're going to hear about all kinds of
stuff.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Adelson, at the commencement of the hearing on the motion to suppress you said your name for the record, Donna Adelson. Can you tell the court how many times prior to your arrest for the charges that are pending in this case have you been arrested for criminal offenses?
Never.
And how long
Oh my God.
incarcerated at the Leon County Detention
God.
Facility?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
15 and a half months, 470 days.
And within that period of time, the 470 days, have you been held in the same location in the Leon County Detention Facility or different locations?
Different locations.
Okay, and your first location was where?
First location was in solitary confinement on a direct observation unit.
Do you know how long you were there?
50 days.
Okay. And where did you go following solitary?
To the N pod, like N is in November. It's an open pod, general population.
What does that mean, open pod, general population?
So I was with 60 some odd other inmates, all in one open area.
And you had beds in your room, I assume?
There were each sections off about 10 women. So, and there'd be a cement wall, and then there'd be another 10 women and a cement wall. So it was fairly quiet, actually, even with that many women, because we were separated in small groups, so it wasn't that loud.
Okay, and do you recall when you were taken out of the in like Nancy pod?
Yes, in August, they said they had maintenance to do, and that we would be moved to the annex, which is a building outside of the jail.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
going to be
so-
benign.
I'm not going to be specific as to dates, but you're arrested in November of 2023 in solitary confinement for 50 days to whatever date that took you to.
January 9th.
Okay, and then from January 9th all the way through some date in August of 2024.
Correct.
You were in the like Nancy pod. And then you said you were transferred to the annex. Can you describe the conditions inside the annex, please?
So the annex is kind of a temporary type building. It's not a brick building. It's kind of like a temporary building, and it's and there are 66 women, all in bunk beds, all open. You're kind of one on top of the next. There's no separation at all.
So one big open room.
One
if you
big
will?
open room with 66 beds. Yes.
Okay. And how long did you stay? So from August of 2024 until when? How long did you stay in the annex?
I was moved again on February 3rd, 2025.
Okay. And you were here when the gentleman was testifying about the call buttons to alert someone if you're having a medical emergency. Was there one of those in the N pod?
No.
Was there one in the annex?
No.
I think the other thing too, that when it comes to something being ended, right, when you think about how we're going to define things like legally, right? Like, for example, like to Tonka's point, like if two people are on a call and then they stop talking, right? So let's just say that two people are on a phone call and like they just stop talking. Like, let's just say, but they both fall asleep or something, right? I don't know. They both stop talking, right? The call is still going. And what do I mean by that? Like, if you look at the time on the phone is still going to be going. And if you look at the phone record, right, the phone record is going to show a phone call that lasted until, or even if you look at it on your own phone after the fact, right, it's going to show a phone call until the phone is disconnected, right? So that would be either somebody wakes up and hangs up, or, you know, both people run out of battery, you know, or whatever. So you could have a phone call where people stop talking and then maybe the call goes on for hours after or whatever, right? But the thing is, right, if you think about like what it looks like on your phone, right? When you hang up a call, it says call ended, and then it gives a time. So I think the important distinction is like, it's not like just that the talking has ended, but the call has ended. And, you know, what they've made pretty clear is that the call ends, right, when both parties have disconnected from the call. So there were kind of several things that were discussed as it pertained to the motion to suppress, which was like, what is the reasonable expectation of privacy as per, as it pertains to like the recording, right? And the message, but then also like, when is the call officially ended? And I think even the defense agreed that it's ended when they hang up. But what they were saying at the end was like, of their argument was that Donna thought she had hung up, but she didn't actually say that. She didn't actually say that. She said she thought the call was over, which is a distinction because all the other times that Charlie was dropped from the phone calls at the jail, she said that she did hang up on those, right? And so then when she was asked about hanging up on that particular call, she said, I thought it was over or whatever, or that had ended, but she didn't say she hung up, which I do appreciate that she could have lied. She could have lied on the stand and she didn't there. So there's that.
I'd like to start here, the motion for a bond that we filed in this case, as the court indicated earlier, one of the issues that we have raised are medical conditions that you're facing. So I'd like to start with your medical conditions and present some testimony to the court about those, okay?
Okay.
Okay. We're not going to go over every medical condition you've had since you've been incarcerated in the jail, but I'd like to start with one that you have that's causing you some pain in your leg and back area. Okay. Let me just start with this. Can you describe to the court the kind of pain and discomfort that you're having with this particular injury or issue?
Remember,
I know what it is because I've had it in the past. It's sciatic pain. And
just to reiterate, the ticker at the bottom will always tell you what we're doing, like what motion is being discussed, if it's a pretrial hearing, who's on the stand, is it direct, is it crossed, that type of thing.
I get like a pulling kind of shooting pain down my legs.
Okay. And you said you've had it in the past. You mean prior to becoming incarcerated in Leon County Jail?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
And during the course of time before you were incarcerated.
That's a great point. Tonka says, with these smartphones, it would be possible to program your app manager to automatically end calls itself after a specific amount of inactivity. Yeah. I does something like that already exist? And if not, that's a brilliant invention. For sure. That totally seems like something that could or should exist already. Yeah, for sure. Which even for people that aren't worried about this type of thing happening to them, again, the odds are some for that, right? But like, if you're just like, yeah, I don't want to have to like waste my battery. Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
The Leon County Jail. Did you seek treatment for that condition?
Yes, I did.
And what type of treatment did you obtain for that?
So I saw my orthopedist and he gave me a steroid injection in my spine.
Okay. How long were you suffering from the sciatic condition prior to becoming incarcerated?
How long? The last episode?
Before you were incarcerated in jail, for how many years had you been suffering with the sciatic issue?
So no, I had it last about 10 years ago. I haven't had it all this time.
Okay.
But then it recurred a few months ago.
Okay. And what was the treatment that you were provided prior to your incarceration for your sciatic condition?
It was the steroid injection, and within 48 hours, it was gone. The pain was gone.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And where did they do the steroid injection? Where's that in your body?
In my spine.
Good point. I should make
Outpatient procedure, inpatient?
Yes, outpatient.
Outpatient. Okay. All right. And during the course of time that you've been in the Leon County Jail, did you start to experience the sciatic pain again?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do when you started to experience that pain?
I wrote a sick call and I went to see the doctor.
Okay. Where do you get these sick call forms from?
From the nurse.
Okay. And when do you have the opportunity to see a nurse sick call forms?
Well, they come twice a day. They come in the morning and they come in the evening.
Okay. And we'll get to what those times are at a later
Oh, that's a lot.
If you don't get a form from a nurse, is there another way to obtain it that you're aware of?
No, that's the only way I've ever gotten it is from a nurse.
Okay. Do you recall approximately how far into your incarceration you started having the sciatic issues again?
I didn't have it until I was in the annex. So that was sometime over the last, I've been there 6 months. I don't remember the specific date, but I didn't have it before the annex.
Okay. And once you started experiencing it in the annex, did you complete a form to see medical attention?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And as a result of completing that form, did you have an opportunity to meet with someone in the medical center at the Leon County Jail?
I saw the doctor there.
And
Yes.
what happened?
And I explained what I had, and she said, we do not treat that type of problem. We could offer you some Tylenol.
And did they provide you with Tylenol?
They did.
And has that relieved you of the pain that you suffer?
No, it's Tylenol. It's not gonna do what I need to have done. No.
Okay. So sometimes since you've been in the annex, you made your request for treatment for the sciatic issue. Have you requested treatment more than once?
Yes.
Okay. And have you received any additional opportunities to meet with any of the medical staff regarding this pain?
No.
What happens when you request treatment And you don't get to see them. Do they tell you that you're not going to be allowed to see them again? What happens?
No, I wait a week, and if I don't hear anything, then I'll write another one, and I'll write, this is a second request, or this is a third request. And then I think they said I think I got an answer. They sometimes just answer it and give it to the pod officer, and she'll hand out papers at night, which is the response to your requests. And on that one, they said, you're already getting pain medication for this. That was the Tylenol.
And the pain medication is just regular Tylenol?
Regular Tylenol.
Okay. At some point, did you have an opportunity to speak to someone in medical care regarding a way to resolve some of the pressure in your leg for use of a medical mattress?
Yes. So while I was down with the doctor during one visit, she said, you know what might be helpful, because you're sleeping on metal and the mattress is maybe a half-inch thick, maybe. She said, what would help is if I could get a medical mattress for you. I had never heard that term before, but I said, okay, if you think it'll help, that would be great. And she left the room, she went into another room, and then she came back in and said, yeah, I thought that would be a good idea, but they don't have it here. So my best thoughts for you would be to get a second mattress, so it'll thicken it a little bit, and that might give you some relief at night.
Okay. And did you obtain a second mattress?
I did.
And this is while you were in the annex?
Well,
How did you get the additional mattress?
so the pod officer asked one of the inmates to go where they have extra mattresses. They have piles of 20, 30 mattresses there, to go get one of the extra mattresses and put it on my bed so that I had the extra mattress.
Okay. And during the time that you were allowed to have the additional mattress, did you get any relief?
Yes, at night, because I used to get the pains even if I was just lying down. And that definitely relieved some of the pain at night, so that was good.
Okay. And at some point, did they take the additional mattress away?
Yes, so on February 3rd, I was moved out of the annex to protective custody in the main jail building. And since I've been there, the officer removed the second mattress. She said, why do you have this? And I told her why. And she said, you have this.
And
so they took it away.
okay. And since the additional mattress has been taken away, have you started to experience worsened pain?
Yeah, it's worse.
Okay. And have you requested any medical treatment for that?
Well, I spoke to the doctor, I don't remember the date, shortly after it was taken away. I was down for a different reason, and she said, yeah, I thought it was a good idea, but if you can't have it, you can't have it.
Okay, right. Now, the relief that you got when you were able to have the additional mattress, did that completely take away the pain?
No.
Okay.
No.
And do you experience this pain when you're walking, sitting? What?
So beginning, I was just getting it when I was walking. So it limited the amounts of walking I could do, but I get it when I'm sitting, I get it lying down, I get it all the time now. So it's not like I have it all the time. It comes and goes, but when it just comes, I could be sitting, I could be standing, it just happens.
Okay.
What do you mean?
We're going to go into more details about how it took place in a few more minutes, but for now, I'd like to talk about, are there any other areas that you are experiencing any pain?
Yes, I have a problem with my left arm.
And describe to the court what that problem is, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing.
So I have like shooting pain from the top here of my shoulder down the outside of my arm into my forearm.
Okay, and you're pointing to your left arm. Is that the one you're referring to?
It's my left arm.
Okay, and so shooting pain down the arm. Anything into your hands?
Yeah, the pain is like hot. It's like a burning pain, and my thumb, index, and middle finger have gotten like tingling. It almost feels like ants are crawling on them. It's like a numbness of those fingers.
Okay, and is this pain that you were experiencing prior to your incarceration at Leon County Jail?
No.
Okay, about when did this pain begin?
Here we
So
go.
I was assaulted by another inmate while I was here at the beginning of October.
October 2024.
Yes,
When you say Leon County Jail.
yes.
All right. Since you began experiencing that pain, since October of 2024, have you requested medical treatment?
Yes.
And what
So
is
that's a great point. So Tonka's saying if she had other connections, she'd be hooked up. Quite the opposite. We're about to hear more about that, right? It sounds like she's not really, and it was really clear when we read through the motion, because like when they were like, hey, we heard you have money, and they like grabbed her arm or whatever it was, and said, can you get us a commissary or whatever? And they were like, and she's like, or sorry, it was actually the first thing was when she was, I guess she was allegedly assaulted in the shower or whatever. And like, by another female inmate, and she was like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And it's like, what a great example of just how she doesn't quite understand how the system works. So if anything, it's the other way around, where people are like, according to Donna, they're like threatening her so that she'll give them commissary, basically. Correct. She has enemies. So wrong type of connection. That's hilarious, Rochelle.
Response been?
They said they would take an x-ray, but in the meantime, they have Tylenol.
Yep. And you said that was in approximately October of 2024. Have you been requesting treatment for that pain since October of 2024?
Several times.
Okay. And you heard the testimony of the gentleman previously at some point.
Like even in the motion that we read, according to Donna, what the other inmates said to her was they were like calling her a murderer and shit. And she's like, "Why are you saying this to me?" Donna, where do you think you are?
Did you do an x-ray on your arm?
Yes,
And when was that?
it might have been February 3rd. No, it's the day I moved. It's shortly after February 3rd. I don't know the date.
Was it after you were removed and placed in protective custody?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Is the Tylenol help with the pain that you're experiencing?
No.
After they performed the x-ray, were you called back into the medical unit?
It was for another reason, but they did call me and they told me that that the x-ray showed no fracture.
Okay, no fracture. That's what they were looking for.
That's what they were looking for.
Did they offer any type of physical therapy for your shoulder, anything at all?
No, I asked if they could do anything for it, and they said no. Tylenol.
All right.
Well,
Do you have
remember,
any other medical conditions that?
that's because like the dude said earlier, right? Like if they'd found something in an x-ray, but having said that, if it's nerve stuff, it would have that an x-ray wouldn't show that. But basically, she would need to be sent out to have that assessed with some other imaging. And remember, they're looking at, like he said, like the evidence base, right? Weighing it out, because obviously, like they said, and like we know, people will say stuff so that they can, honestly, a point he made that was really good earlier was like, they can use that as a means to try to escape, right? If they have to be taken to another facility for some sort of treatment, that's an opportunity to escape, or if they are taken to a hospital, right? So, they're going to look at, is this person, they're going to have to find some sort of reason to really substantiate this. So if they can't find that evidence, right, that's where it gets tricky. Not saying anybody should be denied care, but also they have to figure out, is there a real medical concern here? Is there a way that, that we can prove that and all that, so we can, so that it's warranted to put these inmates in a position where they might become like, at risk for trying to flee and whatnot, right?
That you wanted us to address,
or even to like obtain narcotic painkillers and shit, right?
in the bond hearing that you're suffering from.
So I have a hearing issue.
Okay.
Okay, here we go with the
have
ears.
a
Ready?
problem that we have very narrow ear canals, and so
Donna's, this is where we get into Donna's narrow ear canals. Didn't expect to be hearing about earwax, but we are going to be hearing about earwax, and that's what's happening.
get the wax builds up in my ears to the point that, I have officers that say to me, "Are you deaf, Adelson?" When I don't respond to them, it's because I don't hear them. And so I did ask for help in the, I asked the doctor if there was anything they could do for me, and I told her what's normally done, and she said, we use Debrox to soften the wax, and then it comes down 3 or 4 days later, and we use a bulb syringe to remove it. And I said, that doesn't work. I need a different procedure. And she said, that's all we can do for you.
Okay. And did you know, based on your prior treatment before you came into the Leon County Jail, that it required something other than the flushing system?
Yes, I did know.
Do you recall the name of the doctor that you saw for this condition?
Yes, I've seen him for years. Dr. Molina.
Okay. And Dr. Molino, how long do you think that you saw him for this condition prior to your incarceration?
Putting Dr. Molino on blast.
Several years.
Okay.
4 years, 5 years, I don't know.
Okay. And during the course of his treatment for you, how often would you go to have the wax removed from your small ear canals?
Yeah, every 3 to 4 months. If I waited longer than that, couldn't hear.
Okay, and did he use this method or did he do something different?
No.
What did he do?
He used some kind of, I don't know what it's called, but it's some kind of an electronic device that he puts one end in my ear, and he's able to remove the wax using that device,
Okay.
medical device.
And in your experience prior to incarceration, when you were having that procedure done, did your hearing improve?
Immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, push the button.
You may.
I mean,
Mrs. Adelson, I've shown you what the defense has marked as Defense Exhibit 1 for purposes of this hearing, and it's a report from Dr. Molina, your doctor. Could you review that?
I just don't know that like earwax buildup is going to rise to the level of warranting getting bond
Just to yourself for a moment.
for her. When it said, by the way, when they reference Arthur hearing, it's because this is a non-bondable offense. What that means is that when you are charged with first-degree murder in not just Florida, but other states as well, it's a non-bondable offense. So you have to make the burden then is put upon the defense or the defendant to show that they should be granted bond despite that. That's the Arthur hearing. And I just don't know that the earwax is going to get it there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Does that describe the treatment that he was providing to you?
Yes.
Okay, and it includes a recommendation that you continue to receive the same treatment, potentially with another ENT in Tallahassee, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. This time the defense would offer Defense Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Any objections, defense 1?
No, sir.
Defense 1 is admitted. You may.
Heather, did you hear how Twiz is still figuring out how to read the banner? That was fun.
During the time that you have, without disclosing any other conversations, of course, but during the course of the time that you have met with counsel at the jail, have you had difficulty hearing us while we're trying to discuss your case with us?
Yes.
And what about over the telephone? Are you experiencing difficulty hearing us in that way?
Yeah, the telephone is a problem.
Have you actually gotten in trouble by some of the guards at the jail because they've instructed you to do something you weren't able to?
Yes.
Has that happened on more than one occasion?
It happens on several occasions.
And have you experienced over the course of your incarceration that your hearing is getting worse and worse?
I mean, that's easy. That's solvable, right? I have a remedy for that. Let the guards know about her little ear canals and her earwax, and that they shouldn't yell at her if she can't hear them.
Right.
Well, having said that, how would she even know if they're yelling at her if she can't hear anyway?
This is not a significant, I'm going to move on to something else now, and this is not a significant injury, but I did want to address this with respect to the type of medical care that you are getting at the jail. Did something happen to you recently where you cut your arm?
Yes.
Here we go.
What happened, please?
So I was walking past the washing machine on my way to the restroom, and I bumped into there's like a metal bracket that holds the washing machine in place, I guess. And it was my fault. I bumped into it.
And what happened?
So I cut my arm pretty badly.
So what did you do after you cut your arm?
So timing was it's kind of interesting because the med nurse was there doing morning meds. So I got onto the bleeding wouldn't stop. It was just pouring out. And so I figured I'll get on the line with the other girls and I'll speak to the med nurse. So I waited my turn and I got to the med nurse and she says, "Whoa, what happened to you?" And I said, "My fault. I just bumped into the machine and I cut myself." So she looked at it and she said, "Yeah, that's a problem." I said, "Yeah, can I get a Band-Aid or gauze or something, some antibiotic cream?" She said, "Yeah, I don't have any antibiotic cream and I don't have a Band-Aid." So I looked at her and I said, "Well, what should I do?" She says, "Well, why don't you use your toilet paper and put it on there?"
I mean, seriously.
I said, "But it's gushing. I can't put toilet paper on there." So one of the girls saw me and she said, "Oh my God." And she came running over and she opens up a sanitary napkin and she put it on there so that it was filling the sanitary napkin with blood. And so another girl came over, she took the bloodied one away and she gave me hers too. And I was applying that. I said to the nurse again, "I'm not going to be able to stop it. Holding this, isn't there something you can do?" She says, "The best I could offer you would be to fill out a medical request form."
Who else here is thinking, what about the earwax, right? Isn't this the way to like solve both these issues? Like get the earwax. Would that not stop the bleeding though? I mean, and also I just have to say, the number of times where I've like cut myself shaving in the shower or whatever, and like don't really realize how much is bleeding until you get out of the shower, and like And I'm also just super fucking accident prone. So like, I will just say, I've been in positions where I had blood gushing where the closest thing was toilet paper until I could get to a Band-Aid or find a Band-Aid, or maybe it was fresh out of Band-Aids, right? And literally, you just layer enough toilet paper, you know. Third thing, if her arm cut is bleeding so much that it's filling up a sanitary napkin, which, you know, I'll tell you, they hold a lot of blood, and it got filled up one, and then she needed another one while she was still standing here talking to this nurse lady. That sounds like somebody cut your hand off, and you would be like, how is she not bled to death if she's bleeding that much? Because that's, I don't know. I'm just like, I don't really know. I mean, you know, but still, the earwax could have been a simple solution.
So I said, want me to do that now? She said, yes. I said, okay, can I have a medical request form?
Yeah.
She says, oh, I don't have any. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And she said, I don't know what to tell you. She's maybe the night nurse.
Okay, so this was just a couple of days before you were transferred to protective custody, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you recall it was on Saturday, the 1st of February?
It was a Saturday morning, yes.
Okay, and so about what time of morning would this have been if this was the morning med nurse?
It could have been 9 or 10, somewhere in the morning.
Okay, and when she told you that she didn't have any sick call forms for you to request a Band-Aid and you would need to get it from the night nurse, approximately what time does the night nurse come?
So the night nurse comes anywhere from 11:30 to 2:30 in the morning.
11:30
Because
p.m.
we can totally get her address. I think we can mail her stuff. I mean, that's a possibility. Keeping in mind too, we can also be writing letters to these people. We're all y'all here when we did meet and inmate.com, because that was a momentous occasion. Anyway, Tonka, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that thing with the elephant hands. If you would elaborate, but yeah, we could totally make that happen, Twiz.
To what time?
2:30 a.m.
30 a.m.
Right.
And in the meantime,
No
you were
idea.
supposed to use the feminine pads.
I called my husband. He told me to elevate my arm, to wash it, to try to wash it frequently.
Call
just to
Harvey.
keep my arm up. And that's what I did. And one girl brought over toilet paper, but that was sticking to the wound, so that
Oh,
wasn't
right.
good.
Okay.
So I kept borrowing sanitary pads to hold it.
Okay,
Don't
and
work.
at some point, did the night nurse come?
Yes, she came that night.
Okay, and what happened when she got there?
She didn't have a Band-Aid either.
Okay.
She didn't have antibiotic ointment either. And I said, this has been going on since early this morning.
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just turned around and noticed that some of the state's witnesses have re-entered the courtroom. We had previously invoked the rule for the bond proceeding.
All right. And for anyone who is here to testify concerning bond, please step outside the courtroom. Ms. Dugan, is any witness you're intending to call currently in the courtroom?
I don't see any. I'm calling Miss Wilson and Deputy Collins.
Please continue with your examination, Ms. Fulford.
Thank you. So the night nurse came and the night nurse didn't have a Band-Aid either.
No antibiotic, no Band-Aid, and no, the form that I was told to ask her for, the sick call form. She said, I don't have them. We haven't had them in a while.
The night nurse.
The night nurse.
So how were you supposed to request, according to the night nurse then, how were you supposed to request assistance?
So I was actually fortunate because there was a sergeant with the night nurse. She accompanies the nurse when she comes there. And she took a look at what I look like, and the night nurse said, yeah, that's a problem. And so the sergeant
Now, Donna has
said-
not said she has carpal tunnel or anything. She just said she complained of the shooting pain in the arm, but they didn't mention carpal tunnel. But what did you guys have done for y'all's carpal tunnel? I'm curious. Right? I know, Twiz saying first degree murder, she wants to get on bail for Band-Aids. Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you get a Band-Aid, and I'm going to make sure you get
Band-Aid
it before, you'll get it by tomorrow. When I go back with the night nurse, she said, I'll run some off on the machine, some copies, and I'm going to make sure that you get it.
And did she?
The next morning.
Okay.
The next morning I got it.
From the sergeant?
From the sergeant, yes.
Okay, you got the Band-Aid and the call nurse?
Yes.
Call form.
The call form.
You have first witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Adelson, I'm showing you what the defense has marked as Defense Exhibit 2. Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yeah,
And what is that?
that's a few days after I got cut, and that's the clear Band-Aid that they gave me to put on top.
Oh, they got a picture.
who got the bandage to put on over your wound, did you get additional medical treatment for the wound?
Oh, that's crazy.
So no, not then, about, I don't know how many days later, but when I went down to medical a few days later, they said, how long are you wearing this bandage? And I said, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, whatever it had been. And they said, this should have been cleaned and changed every day. Why didn't you have that done? I said, I don't know. This is what they gave me to put on,
Cleaned?
and that's what I did.
Oh, boy.
Okay. The photograph, does that truly and accurately depict what
Oh
your
my
injury
God,
looked
can you
like the few days after
Yes.
it occurred with the bandage on it?
That's what it looked like.
The defense would offer Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Show us.
Objection to defense two.
No, sir.
May I approach?
You may.
And at this follow-up visit, then did they change your bandage and clean the wound?
They cleaned it and they put antibiotic cream on it, and I
Okay.
changed it, yes.
And did you get any additional treatment for the wound?
No.
Did you request that you get a tetanus shot?
My husband said, Donna, there was if rust on that metal, which there was, he said,
Harvey.
you should ask for a tetanus shot.
Oh,
So
boy.
did you request
So
it?
I requested it and they did give it to me.
And then,
Go, Heather.
as far as your medical conditions go, the last thing I want to talk about is something that I would give two different descriptions of, but I'm just asking the questions. You're the one providing the information to the court in your testimony.
Okay.
So this shortness of breath or heavy breathing that you're experiencing, how long has that been going on?
It's been going on several months, probably at least 3 months, I would think.
Okay, and you're experiencing it then during your incarceration? Did you have it prior to being incarcerated?
No, I did not.
Okay, what have you noticed about the breathing and how would you describe it? Shortness of breath, heavy breathing, what?
I know, I guess it sounds like heavy breathing, it's shortness of breath. I've never had that before. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I've gained more than a third of my body weight here.
Yeah, as I pointed out. But also, she says, I'm not a doctor. You guys, how reminiscent is that of when she's emailing Wendi and she goes, again, I'm not a lawyer. This is so funny. This is classic Donna. This is classic Donna. I'm not a doctor. No one thinks you're a doctor. Oh my God. That wouldn't be funny for people that didn't read those emails. But this is the thing she does, apparently. Wow.
The diet is all carbs, no protein. And, when you get spaghetti with mashed potatoes, cornbread, and white bread, that's your dinner. It's very typical of what we get. And we've had no exercise at all.
There's
We're
worse.
confined,
That's not
especially
nearly as bad as some
in
places.
the annex. The annex, we've been confined to our beds almost all the time. Once in a while, we get a pod officer that lets us walk, so you can walk in a circle around the girls' beds. But otherwise, there's no, even if you want to get off your bed and just try to do stretches or wall push-ups or anything, she says, this is not an exercise room. There's no exercising here. We don't get taken outside.
Let me stop you. One of these issues at a time. So with respect to the time period when you've been in the annex, which was from August of 24 until recently February of 2025, was it your understanding you're supposed to be taken
I know,
outside
right?
a certain number of times?
Well, the Inmate Handbook says you get a
Oh my
minimum of 3 hours of
Oh my God.
of outside time per day, per week, per week.
Okay, and during your time in the annex, did you experience a week where you got 3 hours of time outside?
We haven't gotten 3 hours in 6 months.
How many times did you go outside while you were in the annex?
Before you continue,
The Inmate Handbook. Yeah, right. I think both are true. I think her complaints are petty, and I also agree. We know they don't give a fuck about you in the prison, for sure. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like with Corey Richins when she Googled luxury prisons for the rich. You know what I mean? Donna is on that level, but she didn't maybe do that Google search. That we know of.
Mrs. Adelson,
Yes.
we have 30 minutes left in the hearing. Ms. Fulford, I understand your client is disputing the adequacy of the care. We do need to move to the most pertinent matters. Please continue.
Okay.
Oh,
We're going to move off of that then. I do want to talk to you then about some physical issues that have taken place in the jail. The first one I want to talk about is an incident that took place in the shower. We're going to do this one briefly. I'm sorry, how much time did you say we had, Judge?
30 more minutes,
Including argument?
not including argument.
Okay. All right. So the first incident that took place in the shower, could you just briefly describe to the judge what happened there?
Yeah, so there's 7 shower heads, but I always take the same one because it's
here we
off in
go.
the corner, so I have a little bit more privacy than you'd have at the other ones. And so I would always shower there, and I was under the shower and I was
Well, now you've made it easy for them to know exactly where to find you.
washing my hair. And I was the only one in the shower. I always go in early morning because there's nobody there. Most of the girls sleep. So I take a shower and I have a little privacy. And so I was washing my hair, and all of a sudden I felt a hand go
Oh my God.
up my back, like from
Oh
the
God.
top of my butt up my back. And I stop it. And I turned, and this girl said, "You like it?" And I said, "Get out of here." And I started to scream, and she ran.
Okay. In the bathroom there, what was this? Which spot was this in?
It's in the annex.
In the annex. Okay. In the annex, are there guards positioned inside the area where you shower?
No,
Inside the area where you use the restroom?
no.
Okay. All right.
So, okay, several things. First of all, who believes that this happened? Okay. Second of all, when we were reading over this motion for the pretrial release and in all this that she was talking about with the showers, you know, I was like, and even the question that she had just asked right here, are there guards present, right? And it's like, so is Donna's solution here to have guards there watching her shower or cameras there watching her shower? And I was like saying, is she like secretly like a voyeur, like, or whatever, like an exhibitionist? Like what the hell? Like, what's the solution? Having people there watching you? You know what I mean?
The next thing I want to talk about is what transpired in October of, thank you.
Right.
October of 2024, where you had said previously you were attacked. What were you doing? Where were you at, first of all, at that place?
I have to say that was really kind of the bailiff to come over and bring her Kleenex, even though she wasn't even really crying. That was really kind of him.
In October, so I was in the bathroom. It's 10:30 at night. I went in to brush my teeth. There's there are
Right.
three
For real.
sink stations in the bathroom. Each one has 4 sinks, and I was at the center station with my back to the door, and I'm a righty, so I was holding my toothbrush with my right hand, and I was balancing myself with my left hand on the sink, just brushing my teeth. That's all I was doing.
What happened?
And somebody came up behind me.
I mean, there's just got to be better, you know, like of all the inmates, right? Is Donna Adelson the one that you would go for? You know what I mean? If that's what you're going to do. I just don't know. I feel like there's got to be something else better than, you know, no offense.
And pulled my left hand away from the sink and twisted my arm and like jerked it behind my back, like reaching up toward my neck.
Okay.
And
Did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt.
Okay. What happened?
It hurt. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she's, in the same breath that she did that with my arm, she said, "You're going to buy me commissary." I said, "I'm going to what?" And she said,
This is the thing. She's lucky she didn't get shanked. That's the thing. That is there's something missing here. Like, does she not understand? People will stab you. Like, people, like,
"Unless you want those pretty white teeth knocked out of your mouth, you're going to buy me commissary." So I said, okay. And then she named a package that she wanted, and she's out. She was gone. She was just that fast.
Okay. How bad would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you rate the pain at the time that she did that to you?
Oh my God, it was a 10.
Okay.
I didn't know my arm could reach that far back.
Okay. And what did you do after she did that to you?
So kind of stood
Right.
there for a minute.
yeah,
And then I just thought, okay, I'm gonna go back to my bunk. And I went back to my bunk and got into the covers. And I climbed, just stayed into my covers. I didn't come out.
Okay. During your entire time in the annex, did this particular inmate remain confined in that area with you?
She was in the annex all the time.
Okay. And I know that you don't want to talk about who did this to you because why? Why don't you want to disclose who it was?
There's one thing I've learned since I'm there is you don't, the word is snitch. You don't snitch. You don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. And I've seen that. And so I didn't even tell you for a while. I wasn't going to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody. She's a big woman, and I was afraid of her.
Okay. Approximately how tall would you say she is compared to you?
oh dear.
So for 6 feet, over 200
I
pounds.
think these women are watching this at the jail when it was happening. Oh gosh.
She's a very large woman.
Okay. Were you afraid of her?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was after that.
Okay. And you said that she demanded that you were going to start getting a weekly commissary. Did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Let me, can I have just one moment, Judge?
Go ahead.
Here's where we get to Harvey spending all this money on the oh dear. What do you guys think? Are we crying here, or what are we doing?
Your Honor, in order to move this along a little more promptly, I've requested of the state, and they have no objection. At this time, I'm going to offer into evidence State's Exhibit number 3. I'm sorry, I said state by mistake. Defense Exhibit number 3, Defense Exhibit number 4, and Defense Exhibit number 5.
I will say, you guys, can we just briefly talk about what do you guys think? Again, I said at the beginning of this live, like, I would never have thought she would take the stand in her trial. What do you guys think after today? We're not even done yet, but what do you guys think at this juncture? Do you think she's going to take the stand? I personally, I think she wants, like, this is shocking to me, again, because remember, she has not testified at any of the other trials. I would never have thought she would, but now it's clear that I think she wants to take the stand. Yeah, this is why you don't fuck around and find out, right?
No objections, Lugan.
May
They are
I?
admitted. Thank you.
So Adelson, prior to ordering commissary for this woman who attacked you, were you getting commissary for yourself?
So I have an account, and you can buy up to $40 a week of food. And so I use that account to buy food, but not what she wanted. She wanted packages.
Okay, let's make sure the court understands. When you say buy food, is there normal commissary through the jail, or you were getting your commissary?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what you were spending $40 a week on for yourself?
Paramore, yes.
Okay, and what kind of items are you buying for yourself off of that?
I try to get some protein. I buy tuna fish with mayonnaise and
Substitute meals, if you will?
yes.
Okay, no noodles of any kind?
No.
Okay, all right. Now, is there a separate way that you can order commissary on the outside for inmates?
Yeah, I
Wait.
can't do that. It would have to be ordered from
Wait, I thought though she was saying she gained all this weight because she's eating the noodles.
somebody. You have to ask somebody outside to place the order.
Okay, and when you refer to packages, is that the method that the woman who attacked you said she wanted you to get for
That's
her?
what she asked me to get.
I don't know.
Okay, and these packages cost about $40 each, is that correct?
40 and then $10 for packaging or shipping. So it's $50 a package.
Okay, and during the course of your time in the annex, while you were still in the annex, on just about every week, did she continue to find you in the bathroom and demand what packages that you would get ordered for her?
Yes. She must have been keeping an eye on me, but when I was in the bath, those are the only times she would approach me is in the bathroom, and she would tell me what she wanted for that week.
And did you make those orders through your husband?
I called my husband.
Harvey.
I didn't tell him what happened. I just called him and said, honey, I want some extra food. Would you mind ordering some packages for me? And he said, sure, honey. He did.
And he did that. And at the time that your normal canteen or commissary would be delivered, is that when the extra packages would be delivered as well?
Yes, all at the same time.
Okay, and in the course of things, you would go pick up your canteen and then her extra
By the
packages.
way,
Is that right?
Not word on the street, from people that were there today, Harvey was in the gallery, by the way. Harvey came to hear this hearing.
Yes.
And where did you keep her items when you got back to the annex?
So it was,
Exactly.
you have to carry your bin.
Tonka, I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly where what ends up happening here is that for her own safety, they move her to PC. And then this is part of what she's using for bond, because she's says PC, she's going to say that PC is bad. But I agree for sure. Sounds like that is where she should be. Couldn't agree more. Yep.
And they put the package, they
Over on
opened the
safety,
plastic
right?
bag and they loosely put all this stuff in the bin. So it was all in a bin that I would put under my bed.
Okay, and did you keep her eye care packages separated from your canteen?
Yes.
Okay, and how is it that she would receive her packages? How did she get the
So
food?
she would send, I used to say her minions, she was just pick different girls
Her
to come over to
minions.
me. And they would say, package up 4 soups and 3 bags of chips. And the first time I didn't know what she wanted me to do. And she said, it's for, and she mentioned her name. I said, well, how am I supposed to do that? She said, just put it in your shirt. I'll meet you in the bathroom. So I would load these things in the top of my shirt, and I would hold the bottom of my shirt like this so that nothing would fall out. And I'd go to the bathroom, and then somebody would follow me in there, and she would take it out, transfer it into her shirt. and walk away.
And that continued from the time that she first yanked your arm behind your back in October all the way until you were put into protective custody. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. When you
I
got
think
into
that's
protective
pretty
custody,
safe.
in fact, did you receive your last packages for her?
So the last package came, I was put into protective custody on a Monday.
Here we go.
And Tuesday, the commissary came with those packages and brought them to me.
Okay. And do you have that extra food in your protective custody room now?
They're sitting there. I don't eat that stuff, so it's all sitting on top of my bunk.
It's made up of noodles and chips and things of that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I want to talk briefly about your time in protective custody. How big is the room that you're in?
6 by 9.
Okay. And are you in this room by yourself?
Yes.
And is the door, with the exception of when they allow you to come out, is the door kept closed all of the time?
It's supposed to be kept closed.
Okay. All right. And you're given, I'm kind of leading here, Judge, to try and get us through this, but you're allowed to come out of that room 1 hour per day on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you get to come out for 20 minutes. Is that
20
right?
minutes.
Okay. And on the weekends, you don't get to come
Not
out?
at all.
Okay. Make sure you don't talk over me. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're talking over each other.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So Saturday and Sunday, you don't come out at all.
Needs to
During
get
your
earwax done.
hour, 3 days a week, and your 20 minutes, 2 days a week, is that when you are given the opportunity to take a shower?
Yes.
If you have time to walk, that's when you walk?
Oh,
So on an
There you
hour,
go,
I'll
Heather.
walk for 40 minutes or about, and then I'll take my shower at the end of that, so I get my shower in.
Okay.
20
And laundry
minutes
also.
is a good
That's
walk,
what you
though.
use that
All
time
of
for.
that, yes.
Other than that, you're locked inside that room.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, it was your understanding when you were put into protective custody that there's not ever supposed to be anybody out around you. Is that right?
That's what I was told.
Okay. But protective custody is actually attached to a pod, is it not?
Yes.
And what pod is that?
M-Pod, like Mary.
Okay. At some point, did you learn that this individual who attacked you was also, at least for some period of time, in that same area?
I'm not sure where she was. She might have been.
Okay.
I didn't see her.
You didn't see her?
I've
Okay.
heard that she was there, but I didn't see her.
Okay. Now, you have testified earlier that different guards have kind of different rules that they follow inside the jail. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. During the time that you've been in protective custody, when you were told you should not be around anyone else in the pod or otherwise, have there been times when guards would have you around other inmates?
Yes.
Okay. Was there an occasion where another girl came and knocked on your door wanting you to give her food?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And what happened when you said you would give her food?
I said, I have all that extra food. I don't mind
Right,
giving it to people.
Okay.
Good
So
morning,
how are you going to
Ethan.
give it to her?
Well, that's what I said to her. I'm going to get this to you. And so she gave the guard a high sign, and the guard buzzed the door open, and it was her and a friend of hers, the two of them, and they only stepped in my foot, came in, and I gave them some soups.
Okay. Is that the only time that you've been around other people since you've been put in protective custody, or have there been other
There have been other
situations?
times, like yesterday, the officer buzzed my door. So I guess there was something she wanted me to do, so I opened my door, and I came out, and there were maybe, I don't know, half a dozen girls watching TV. I walked past them, and I asked the officer, "What did you want?" And she said, "Miss Adelson, I didn't mean to buzz you. Just go back to your room." I said, "Okay." So I turned around and went back.
Okay. We have to move along a little bit faster here. So one of the things that's been a big thing for you is lack of sleep. So we're going to just kind of go through this quickly for the court. But you testified previously that the nighttime medications come between 11:30 p.m. and 1:30 or 2 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And part of the nighttime medications that you get, is there something in there to assist you to go to sleep?
Yes.
Okay. And then you get the medication. About how long after that is it before you can go to sleep?
From the time I get it, probably a half hour.
Okay. All right. And what time are you woken up for breakfast?
Between 3 and 3:30. Last night was 3:10. Just
Well,
within
early
that
bird
half
gets
hour
the
range.
worm, as
when
they
it comes.
say.
Okay. And once you're woken up for breakfast, are you capable of going back to sleep?
No.
Have you tried to go back to sleep?
Oh my God. Yes, I try.
So that period of that time that you get from the time you fall asleep after your night meds until you're woken up for breakfast, that's the only sleep that you're getting while you're incarcerated?
That's it.
How has that affected you?
So, listen, I know older people don't need as much sleep as younger people, but I need more than 2 hours a night. I need more than a good night is 3. One night I had 3.5 hours. It's not enough sleep to stay focused. I mean, I feel like I'm foggy sometimes because I just sleepy. I'm tired, and I can't go to sleep. They've got people screaming and yelling. They bang on the doors. They shake the doors. It sounds like a drum in there. It's horrible. So I can't sleep with all that noise going on. Then
Okay. Do you have legal documents
I
that
mean, what about the earwax? Isn't the thing is this, that they can't all be true, right? I mean, if you can't hear people talking at you loudly right in front of you or whatever, and at some point, I know she's going to get to the part, I think they're going to do it here, where she says she couldn't hear her attorneys on the phone. If your earwax is that bad, how are you not sleeping through the other stuff?
we have provided to you or prior counsel
I
has
know.
provided to you that you need to review to
Right.
assist in the preparation of your defense?
Save it so you can.
Sure, do you keep legal documents with you that you're supposed to be reviewing to assist to prepare for your defense?
Sure, I've got two bins full of them.
Okay, are you having difficulty completing the tasks that we're asking you to do because of your lack of sleep?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. See, this type of shit, I'm like, she's totally going to take the stand. And she's going to try to, and you know, I think Twiz was asking me this earlier, like, what's her strategy going to be? What we need to do, maybe we'll do that after this. We need to watch the opening statements from Charlie's trial, because some of you guys may not have seen Dan Rashbaum and what he did for that. And I always refer to it as the puzzle pieces. And I always say to you guys, it's the double extortion theory. And I literally can't explain it because it makes no sense. So the only way to know what that was is to hear him do it. And it just goes to show you how, if you're trying to plead not guilty and they're in this family and you're in this case, you know, there's a lot of mental gymnastics that have to go on trying to come up with a theory. And who knows what they will do for Donna, but they're going to come up with something. And I think she's going to take the stand. I think that's going to be the only way to do it. There's not going to be any evidence for her in her favor, right? It's going to have to be her taking the stand and trying to explain it, just like we see in so many cases. But what I'm seeing here is wanting to tell her story, wanting to, I don't know if perform is the right word, but she wants to look a certain way and get a thing across to the audience. And right now her audience is the camera and the judge. I just think she'll testify. I think she'll testify. And maybe whatever theory they're going to offer for her defense is going to be reliant upon that. Sometimes that's the case. Right. She's full of excuses. Yeah. And that's a great point. Yeah. Some Q-tips. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, totally agree. Like Q-tips could get the earwax out. Earplugs could help with the noise. For sure. For sure.
I want to talk to you for just a second. You're able to make calls to your lawyers off of your tablet, correct?
Yes.
And those are supposed to be attorney-client privilege calls, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and they're not recorded according to what's said on the recording when you make the calls, is that
That's
right?
right.
During the time that you were in the annex, were you in a situation where you could be away from everybody so that you could make those calls without anyone hearing?
No, I had to take my into my blanket because you couldn't hear me. I certainly couldn't hear you. So I would go into my blanket with the tablet and I would call you that way.
That didn't keep the other inmates who were standing right next to you from hearing.
It is what it is.
Okay, was there a time when you and I were speaking and when you pulled the cover, the guard there listening to your call?
Yes, there was.
And during the time that you and I are having conversations, do you also experience the same kind of problems with the phone that you had heard that Charlie had while talking to you, where the calls are dropped, et cetera?
We've had it numerous times.
Okay, are there times where we're not able to hear each other on phone calls?
Yes.
Is there static on the phone calls?
It's static, and now you've been complaining because I have this shortness of breath, so you say I'm breathing very heavy and it's hard to hear me.
Okay.
So it's difficult.
All right, let me ask you a few questions. We're requesting that His Honor allow you to be out on bond pending your trial so that you can assist in the preparation of your defense.
No.
If His Honor
We're going to be on the cross really soon.
ordered that you reside here in Leon County and not leave Leon County until the conclusion of the trial, would you agree to do that?
Yes, of course.
If he placed you on an electronic monitor, would you agree to take that?
Incredible.
Yes,
Okay. If he required that you have a curfew from 7 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning, would you comply with the curfew?
I would do that.
Do you have the ability to do these things?
Yes,
Okay, you have the ability to get housing here in Tallahassee where you could live with your husband.
sure.
Okay, and if he said that you
The
can
funniest
leave
part of all, right? Because y'all know how they hate Tallahassee. Just-
outside of the curfew, you can leave to go meet with your lawyers.
Honestly,
medical
I'm surprised Harvey even came because it means he had to come to Tallahassee.
appointments, if you need medical appointments, coming to court, those type of things, would you comply with those orders as well?
Yes, I'd be grateful just to get a night's sleep. It would be great.
Okay, if he ordered that you had to surrender your driver's license during the pendency from now until the end of the trial and not drive, would you agree to comply with that?
Yes, I would.
Have just one moment, please. Thought I had asked this, but I might not have. For the medical conditions that you have complained of during the time that you were speaking with the doctors and they said that they didn't give you the treatments that you were requesting? Did they ever offer that they would have a doctor from the outside perform the treatment for you?
No.
I don't have anything further.
Student cross-examination.
All right, let's do this. Get it, Miss Dugan.
All right, so the incident in the shower after you let the inmate
All
know
right.
you did not like what she was doing by telling her to stop. Did she ever try that again?
No.
And that inmate's no longer, or you didn't disclose the name of that inmate, but you did tell the investigator that that inmate is no longer in jail with you, right?
She's no longer there. She left shortly after that.
Okay. As far as the arm twist incident from October of 2024, you said you reported that in February of 2025.
Yes.
Okay. And you wouldn't give the name, you said you wouldn't give the name of her to the investigator either. Okay.
No.
But you would give her name that instead of you being separated from the pod, she could be separated from you and you could be back with the general population.
Yeah, but she's not the only one that could hurt me. That's why I wouldn't do it. She had a half a dozen girls that came up to me.
Was there ever any physical violence by her or anyone she's friends with after that October
No.
24 incident?
No, that was it. That's it.
And by being in solitary confinement, does it give you an opportunity to have a quieter space where you can prepare for trial?
Right.
I guess it would be a quiet space if I could get some sleep and I would be able to concentrate on what I'm supposed to do. Yes, that would be helpful.
Do you also get in-person visits with your attorney in jail?
Something's
I do.
not adding up.
Okay, and
with this.
when that happens, are you in a room alone with him or her or both?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And y'all are able to have conversations then that are private?
yes.
For the sciatic nerve, in December of 2024, were you offered a solumedrol steroid injection for that pain that you declined?
I am going to object to the use of the medical records by the state based on the prior objection.
Student, do you have an ability to show that these records were not a part of what was obtained by Investigator Newlin that is still disputed?
No, these are part of what was obtained by Investigator Newlin. But my understanding is that the defense would have opened the door to this by asking her all of these times she was seen by medical staff and what basically was not done for her.
As to that, I will permit the witness to answer. You may answer this witness.
Could you ask me one more time?
Yes. For the sciatic pain that radiates down your right leg, were you offered a solumedrol, a steroid injection,
Oh,
and then after that, a medrol, so a steroid dose pack that you declined until you were able to speak with your physician?
No, I told her that in the past I had gotten a steroid injection in my spine, and she said, we don't do that. I could offer you, and it was a medrol dose pack, I think.
A solumedrol
I can offer
injection?
you that, but we don't do that. And having had sciatica twice in my lifetime, I know what's been done each time, and I know that worked. And so she said, we can't do that. We don't offer that. You would need to see a specialist for that.
Okay, I'm going to show you this page. The encounter from December 13th, 2024 at 3:22 p.m. Does it say offered patient a solumedrol injection and then starting tomorrow a medrol dose pack? Patient requested decline until she can speak with her physician.
I don't know what a solumedrol injection, but she told me they don't give steroidal injections in the spine. She says we don't do that. And I don't recall her offering an injection. I do remember she said I could give you other medication. But I've been there. I've done that. I know what happens with sciatica, and I know what needs to be done. That's not going to be the answer.
For your arm and
hey,
shoulder
Donna,
pain,
I thought you said you weren't a doctor. Hang on.
true that you reported you had mild pain in your left arm and
No,
shoulder?
I heard a gentleman say that before. I couldn't believe it. I told you that I had severe burning pain down the outer part of my arm. I never used the word mild pain. I don't know where they got that from, but that's not what I said.
Okay. I'm going to show you the encounter from February 3rd, 2025 at 2:29 p.m. Under musculoskeletal, does it say positive for left upper extremity limited RLM range of motion, comma, mild pain?
That's what it says, but that's not what I said. No way is that pain mild.
And so that's just what the doctor would have written down, but you're saying that's not what you told
I
the
ne-
doctor or
I
nurse?
did, had that been given to me and I read it and I had to sign it, I would say I never said this, but I'm telling you, I never said mild pain.
Okay.
It's shooting hot pain down my arm.
For that injury, you did have an x-ray. They did go over that x-ray with you and let you know that there was no fracture or
There was no
dislocation,
fracture, that's what she told me. I didn't think it was a fracture.
or dislocation of your shoulder or arm.
No, there's just pain.
And they also went over your chest x-ray results with you to let you know that your chest x-ray appeared clear.
Yes,
You ultimately received the Band-Aid and Neosporin for the cut on your elbow.
yes, I got that on Saturday. When did I get that? On Monday?
Okay, so within a day or two of the cut occurring.
Yes,
And you said that if you are given a bond, you will reside in Tallahassee, you will follow court orders. But when you were afraid of being arrested, right, Charlie Adelson's trial, isn't it true that you hoped that you could get to the airport before you were arrested?
Oh my God.
I wasn't afraid of being arrested.
Oh my
What
God.
were you trying to get to the airport in time for?
Huh.
In that jail
My
cell?
Oh my God.
husband and I
Oh my God.
literally shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie.
Here.
And he said, we need to just get some peace. We
No.
need to catch our breath. We're
Wow.
gonna go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because
Wow.
I couldn't think straight. I really couldn't think straight. I was so upset, and so was he. And it was his idea. He said, sweetheart, let's go, just get away. We're gonna just get away somewhere.
You're going to blame Harvey? Really? Donna, really? You're going to blame Harvey? You know, everyone knows he does exactly what you tell him to do. And that's what goes
So
on.
we could have sometimes.
You gotta be kidding. Poor Harvey.
Okay, so your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there.
So my husband actually had said, we've been to Vietnam before with friends, we were on vacation, and it really was like a
Objection,
place of
facts on
peace.
evidence.
And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if the law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting months to go back. We could buy a ticket and we can go home.
Huh?
And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted.
Okay, but
Huh?
you were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right?
I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't, we spoke to our attorneys. I asked them, they said there's no pending. We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it. And they
Doesn't
said
make any
there's
sense.
no,
It doesn't make any sense because even if she went to a country that does extradite, she could still turn herself in and come back to the US. Doesn't make any sense.
in other words, there's no pending
Obviously.
charges and there's no warrants. So you want to go. And so when you ask your attorneys and they tell you that,
Oh dear.
I'm going.
But Dan did tell you, as you say in the jail call, that knowing what they're thinking up there, I don't know if you'll make it out in time. I really don't. But that he said you might, or you might get to the airport and they'll stop you. It could
Oh my
happen,
That's what he said.
right? So you went to the airport knowing that they could stop you at the airport. You could end up being
Yeah,
arrested.
that's what Dan said.
And when you were looking at places to go a couple of days after Charlie Adelson's trial, you were specifically looking, though, for countries that did not have extradition with the U.S.
For the reason I just told you.
Right. And the reason that you're saying that you were looking for countries with no extradition was so that you could get back faster.
Florida taxes
in order
pay
to
for it, not
get
us.
arrested in the U.S.
No, that's not what I said. It's because, I don't know, maybe we watch too much TV or too many movies, but
God.
I've seen
Oh dear.
movies where
Oh no.
people are stuck in like third world prisons and waiting and waiting and waiting. And my feeling was, this is not what we want to happen. If the state says they want us to come back, we'll buy a ticket, we'll come back on our own terms. We don't have to be else somewhere. We'll come back home and turn ourselves in.
Couldn't you have done that no matter what country you went to?
Thank you.
No,
No? You couldn't have found out that you had a warrant
Oh
for
my
your arrest
God.
and come back if there was an extradition
well,
policy?
not if they would, I'm not law enforcement, but
Yeah. Holy fuck. There it is again. So remember, in the emails we had, again, I'm not a lawyer, she said to Wendi. Earlier we had, wow, what a treat. Earlier we had, I'm not a doctor. Now we have, I'm not in law enforcement. You could really, you just, incredible.
it appears that they would notify law enforcement in that country and then they could hold you in a jail for God knows how long. And I didn't want that to happen. So he said, well, that's why we'll do it this way, honey. That way, If they do notify us, and
Stop
we get a phone
blaming
call from
Harvey.
our attorney or from law enforcement, then we'll buy a ticket, we'll go home.
Okay.
And so it would have been on our terms. That was the point. That was the reason that he thought that was a good idea.
And your
Before you
testimony,
continue, Ms. Dugan, we are over time. If you please can get to your most pertinent questions.
yes, sir. I guess your testimony ultimately, though, is that you were not trying to go to a country with no extradition because you were trying to avoid being held accountable for this charge. That's your testimony?
Being held, I didn't do this.
Okay.
Being held accountable for this is not what happened.
Being arrested for this case.
Being arrested,
Right. That was not what you were trying to avoid by trying to go to a non-extradition country.
to get our heads on straight and just breathe.
That's all that happened.
Any redirect examination for Mrs. Adelson?
She just wanted to breathe, guys. She had to go all the way to Vietnam to breathe. Remember, it was a one-way ticket.
Just one question, Judge.
You may proceed.
The testimony was you were offered an X-ray. You were never offered an MRI for your shoulder, were you?
No.
Thank you.
Oh my
You
God,
may
that's,
step down, Mrs. Adelson.
that's the only question.
Deputy, please assist you to your seat.
Oh my God. So now they're going to argue. Wow.
Does the defense have any other
I would think.
documents or evidence or witnesses that it intends to present?
I mean, again,
I don't have any other witnesses that I want to present. We did file a request to take judicial notice of the motion and order in the Adam Frash case where a request was made in a charge of first-degree murder for a bond for Mr. Frash, and that was granted. Has Your Honor had an opportunity to review that?
Adam Frash, why does that ring a bell? Do you guys know that case? Hold on. I know that name. Convicted of killing his wife. Hold on. Oh, his wife was, I remember, I think I watched this trial. Dude. Okay, so this was the wife. Where's my mouse? The wife was a model. She was found in the mansion pool. They're referencing that. I wonder if his defense attorney was Tim Jansen. Let me see here. That's so funny. Well, for his appeal, he had his appellate counsel was Michael Offerman, who's Charlie Adelson's appellate attorney, but one of the best anywhere. Yeah, Adam Frash. I know that. I either I watched that trial or somebody whoever was his defense attorney is somebody who I have heard from maybe on STS or something. Because again, this is Tallahassee, which is interesting, right? Like their citing actually happens to be a Tallahassee case here. Let me see what this says. Hold on. Interesting. Do you guys know that case? Yeah, they had a dateline on him. I didn't know that. It was in 2017. I can't find out easily who his defense attorney was, but his appellate counsel was Michael Offerman. Anyway, so interesting that's what they're citing, though. They're citing a Tallahassee case.
I did the records of the circuit court. They don't have to be judicially noticed. What the other judges have done in the past certainly are a matter of record. Procedurally, we are in a different posture than Dr. Frash was, than your client, but any argument that you believe is reasonable, you may make.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to do, Your Honor, is as an officer of the court, I wanted to represent. We attempted to obtain a copy of a no-fly order. Right. Because that letter was received after Mrs. Adelson was taken into custody. And the only response we were able to get was that there's not from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Traveler Redress Inquiry Program, was that there's not an open dispute of a no-fly order. So I didn't want there to appear to be a misrepresentation by myself in the motion and us not being able to present anything to the court. That's as much as they would say in response to our request. And then finally, I was glad to see that Mr. Google here is present. And I'm sorry, I don't remember he's under sheriff, I think now, Mr. Google, in charge of the jail. And I just wanted to represent to the court that I did inquire about outside care. And the reason I questioned the witness about additional care from other doctors is I did inquire as to whether we could have her taken to see other doctors to get treatment that she could not get in the jail. And Mr. Google advised me that with a court order, that could take place. But we were never advised that without a court order, she was able to get medical treatment that she was requesting.
Stephen, you may respond to the bond motion and present any evidence you have concerning presumption of guilt evident or, excuse me, proof of guilt evident or presumption great. Go ahead.
I have two very quick witnesses for us to the medical or to the security concerns.
Okay. Wait, who? Chelsea something? What? Huh? Chelsea? Huh? It wasn't me, guys. It wasn't me. Did it call me in the shower? Oh, shower. Relevant because of Donna. Something in the shower. Wasn't me. Something.
Please raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
You may take your seat. You may examine when you're ready.
Will you state your name and spell it, please?
Chelsea Wilson, CHELSEAWILSON.
Oh my God, she spelled the
And
same
the
way.
Sheriff's Office.
What do
Oh
you
my
do?
God, she spelled the same way I do. Sorry.
Specifically, I am assigned as
And her last name
criminal
starts with a W.
investigations for the
Weird.
jail.
All right, did you investigate an incident reported by Donna Adelson in February of 2025
Okay.
that
Yes.
occurred back in October? of 2024?
Oh.
Yes.
And was that the
Okay.
incident
So she investigated the supposed like essay or whatever.
where she said that
In the
he
shower.
twisted her arm in the
Wasn't it?
bathroom area and told her that she wanted the canteen?
Oh no,
Correct.
it was the arm thing, not the shower.
Is there any video footage in the area where that took place?
No, not in the bathroom.
Okay.
Right.
Did she disclose to you the name of the inmate?
Right.
No.
Did she disclose whether the inmate had ever been violent again or any that is somehow related to the inmate in custody as far as being a friend or family member?
My understanding
Oh,
was a one-time
is.
incident.
If she
Wordle-
had disclosed the name of the
Wordle
inmate, what could be done to hopefully keep that situation from happening again?
No, well, we knew the name of the inmate. We could take measures to make sure that they were not housed together.
Right.
They were not in, for example, classes
So
together.
here's why
I don't know
this
if she's-
matters. Oh, well, she has tattoos on her knuckles. Here's why this matters, because the thing is this. I remember when this whole thing came out before the motions were filed, because again, there's people that have connections close to this whole thing. And I remember there was a whiff of this whole thing that Donna was trying to come up with some sort of okay, the double extortion, like I've referenced with Charlie, it was almost like a meme or a joke that was like, it sounds like Donna's trying to ruffle some sort of triple extortion thing going on, okay, regarding these other inmates. And this was before she filed anything and before we knew about what she was going to say. But it was really funny because it was like, without giving the names, there was only so much that they could do if they wanted to call them in as witnesses, right? So there's that. And then it's like, okay, using it to try to get out of jail on pretrial release. Now, the thing is, right, is like if she gave the names up, they could, make sure they're not housed together or whatever. I guess Donna would say that doesn't matter. They would still get to her. But of course, also, it's like she's not giving the names up. It's like, did this really happen? There's no witnesses, etc. Anyway, just saying.
In classes, but measures could absolutely be taken to make sure that they were not able to have physical contact with each other for her safety.
If we don't know that inmate's identity though, and we can't take her out of the area
Yeah.
where Miss Adelson lives in the jail, is the only option then to take Miss Adelson out of the area and put her in an area
Protective
where she
custody.
cannot be threatened again.
Unfortunately, yes.
And did you let her know that? And if so, how did you?
Liz, you could probably write. I mean, I guess anybody. Have you guys ever, considered writing BK? I mean, we could be writing any of these people, right? I'm not saying we should. And a great question from Rochelle, who wears a lace bustier to court. Great question. Yeah, right. I'm with you on that, 100%, Rochelle, on that. Yeah.
Respond.
I did during the investigation trying to get the
Stop.
inmate's name who twisted her arm. I did explain to her that I would be able to move her back into a pod where she is able to move around more, where she's able to be social, for example. And her response essentially was that she felt, although she's not able to move around much in protective custody, she felt safer there, and that it does give her a little bit more peace and quiet to review legal materials for her upcoming trial.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
I don't have anything.
You may step down.
All right, she's done.
State calls it Bobby Collins.
You know what's so weird? guys remember the Zachary Hughes trial? They didn't have anybody state or spell their name except for with only like 2 exceptions. Bizarre. Never seen that before. Add it to the long list of things that were weird about that case and trial.
As far as the writing numbers, it might be a website, but that's fine. Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
You may take your seat. You may examine when you're ready.
Can you state your name and spell it for us, please?
Lieutenant Robert Collins, ROBERT, COLLINS.
Thank you. And can you tell us where you work and what you do there?
I'm assigned at the detention. I oversee the classification unit.
Okay. How does the jail, the Leon County Detention Facility, handle when inmates are pressuring or threatening to buy them food from canteen?
Well, we interview the inmate, we gather information, providing what information that they give us. We will separate them out of harm's way and place the inmate separation, possibly follow up with incident reports or disciplinary reports.
Okay. And is there always an officer in every pod that an inmate can report an incident to, whether it be a security issue or a medical issue?
Yes, at all times.
Okay. Have there been any allegations made to the officers at Leon County Jail by Donna Adelson about any type of financial shakedown or threat in exchange for canteen, aside from the one made this month regarding the arm twist in exchange for canteen?
Not that I'm aware of. I only reviewed 2 incidents reports from February 3rd.
Okay, those were the ones made this month on February 3rd.
That's correct.
Okay, and those are the incidents that the defense cited in their motion.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's it.
So she's pointing out the timeliness of it, right?
Examination.
I
Interesting.
don't have anything. Thank you.
Interesting.
Lieutenant. Thank you.
Now argument?
Stephen, do you have any evidence that you wish to enter pertaining to the Arthur aspect of this?
I do, Judge. At this time, I'd move, and I'll just go through all of them at once. State's Exhibit 1, which is the probable cause affidavit for Donna Adelson.
Okay, we've read that, by the way. We're going to skip past it. She's moving these exhibits into admission here. Her hair is always looking good.
State's exhibits, does the defense have any objection or anything to raise?
With respect to States Exhibits 4 and 5, renew our objection, as we believe the call should be suppressed, as well as the excerpt from the call and the transcript. So we would object on that basis.
Relates to whether the court will consider Exhibits 4 and 5 that will be tied to the order of suppression as to all of the matters. Is there any objection?
No, Judge.
Okay.
Court reserves whether Exhibits 4 and 5, and I believe which other ones were you contesting?
Just 4 and 5.
4 and 5 will be admitted. All other exhibits offered by the state for the purposes of Arthur and bond will be admitted at this time. Ms. Dewey, do you have all of these available?
I do.
The case can approach.
Okay.
Argument concerning the Arthur
Okay,
standard and
argument.
also bond.
Yes, sir. I guess I'll go with Arthur's standard first. As to State Exhibit 2, the transcripts from Charlie Adelson's trial, I think that the parts of these trial that were most relevant to whether we've met the standard in Donna Adelson's case are the emails that show Donna Adelson's motivation to commit the crime.
The emails!
Hatred towards Dan Markel, strategized ways
We've
to
read
get Donna
those
Adelson
many
sons to live
times.
in South Florida. The thousands of dollars worth of checks we saw in that trial that were written to Meg Banwa, signed by Donna Adelson when Meg Banwa never worked for the family in any capacity. Meg Banwa's testimony that Charlie Adelson was about her being the middleman between Charlie Adelson and the hitman for this murder, and how on July 18th, 2014, which was the night of the murder, that Charlie gave her money at his home, which she then delivered to the
Wait,
hitman.
what?
Meg Banwa saying that she learned.
I have another. Sorry, I didn't see this. I was fussing with my banner. What did you mean by chicks' names, Chelsea? I don't know what you mean by that. Did who click on what? Who's controlling the camera? Somebody from the court. I mean, Law and Crime was the only channel that had it. But it's court feed. Who do you think is controlling the camera?
The night of July 18th, that Charlie Adelson and his parents had just.
Oh, with the bustier, right? Gotcha. Right. George's right there. You go. Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea about that bustier. That was wild. George is controlling the camera.
It was her understanding that Donna Adelson had washed the money and the money was damp.
Yes.
For the State's Exhibit 3, which is the travel analysis, Basically, these slides show that Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson's travel from their home in Miami to Orlando on the night of July 18, 2014. At a certain point, Donna Adelson texts Charlie Adelson, "I'm outside your house," or "outside your house." Charlie Adelson then responds a little while later with 10 minutes. Cell tower analysis shows that Charlie Adelson is inconsistent with his house 10 minutes later. And when you look at the time it took for Donna Adelson to travel from the area of Charlie Adelson's home to the next point with location data for her, north of Charlie Adelson's home, it shows that it should be about a 45-minute trip, but it shows that it took her 1 hour and 54 minutes. That shows there was 1 hour and 9 minutes unaccounted for during the time when she would have been waiting for Charlie Adelson at his house and could have stayed there for about half an hour once he arrived. And that could be consistent with her taking some of the money to Charlie Adelson's home, as Donna describes. Exhibit 4 is the open line jail call we've already heard today. On page 8, she does say, after speaking with Dan this morning, after knowing what they're thinking up there, I don't know if we'll make it out in time, I really don't, but Dan says you make it to the airport or they may stop you, it could happen, but it's worth a try. She then says on page 16 that they've looked it up over and over because things change, whether there's from Vietnam. They could go to Korea or China because there's no extradition there. We are looking for places where there's no extradition. Exhibit 6, which is the chat with Vietnam Visa on WhatsApp. In that first message, that service tells Donna Adelson that all of the messages are encrypted and no one can read them. She began on this WhatsApp trying to get.
You know what was awesome was what we learned from the Zach Hughes trial, those of you guys who watched it, was that we now know what those WhatsApp messages look like. And that they're just, the words are scrambled. Isn't it so crazy? That's why I made such a big deal about it. Because I'm like, literally no one has ever seen what it looks like when you get that back, right? Like via a search warrant or a subpoena, like no one sees that. Like we just know it's and encrypted. But now we know what it looks like. And now we know it can be unscrambled, which is wild, right?
The visas during the afternoon of November 7th. That's less than 24 hours after the trial transcripts and state deposit reflect that there was a jury verdict in Charlie Adelson's trial. Donna Adelson says in that conversation that she needs an emergency FastTrak visa for her and her husband.
Nice.
And given the option of 30 or 90-day visa, she chooses 90, unless she can only do 30. And in that case, she'll do it and just extend it.
Okay, so emergency visas. Also, this is Donna communicating with this company, not Harvey.
Sends passport pictures and pays for the visas. Several days later, she says to the service that she's
Harvey
getting
paid
nervous
for it.
she hasn't received the visas yet, and she's typing all of that in all caps. She says her flight is booked at that point, which is the one-way trip to Vietnam with the layover in Dubai. That's within days of Charlie Adelson's verdict. The chat shows then that she got the visa just in time, I think the day before the flight, and then she ended up being arrested on the jetway in Miami right before she boarded the one-way trip to Vietnam. We also have the excerpts from the WhatsApp with Charlie Adelson, State's Exhibit 7. This is a conversation that the court has seen before. We've had a motion hearing about it, I believe, where basically we were able to get these messages in 2023.
I mean, the thing is this. Remember, this is a non-bondable offense. This is wild. You've got a non-bondable offense. We see sometimes where they do ask for bail in non-bondable offenses, but has it ever happened when the defendant was arrested trying to flee and actually get on the airplane to a non-extradition country? I don't think that's ever happened before. And the fact that with a non-bondable offense and under those circumstances, when one of the biggest reasons for no bond is the flight risk, that they're asking for bond, it's like we know all of this, but it's still just so crazy and hard to fathom.
Donna Adelson was arrested and we seized her cell phone. This is from the WhatsApp with Charlie Adelson on her phone. These are WhatsApp messages, though, that occurred in August of 2016. And there's a conversation between Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson where Charlie Adelson is basically workshopping ideas that maybe the killer was a coke dealer and that Danny was just buying drugs from him. And they don't mention anything about extortion, which ended up being Charlie Adelson's defense at trial, that he didn't intend for this to happen, that he was extorted.
Literally, I was just talking about that, guys. There it is.
And finally, the letter from the Martell family. Given the totality of the evidence in this case, the state does meet the burden under Arthur. The state has no defendant who's been charged.
That's really sad. The Markell family wrote a letter asking her to stay in custody until trial. That's really sad.
Case had an Arthur hearing. They have all been held in custody until trial. And none of them tried to flee to a non-extraditable country to avoid being charged before arrest. If court somehow believes the state falls short, though,
there's no way.
She should still be held no bond because she is absolutely a flight risk.
There it is.
Her past actions. More so now than ever, now that she has actually been charged. What we saw her talking about on the jail call and doing in the visa chat and going to the airport for and being arrested there, that was all before she was even arrested, when she just knew that the charge was coming. Now she has been charged. She is facing life in prison. So I think she's more of a flight risk than ever when you consider a totality of all of that information. As to the bond argument, we heard from, the Mike Hayden, who's in medical administration. All of the defendants' complaints have been evaluated. Medical staff has treated them. She's been able to see a doctor within a day or two. That is faster than most of us who are out of custody could see our doctors. She was given Band-Aid and Neosporin for the cut on her arm when she bumped into the laundry machine. Sometimes accidents like that happen, and that could also happen to her out of custody as well as it could happen to her in custody to bump into something.
Great point. People bump into shit all the
breathing
time.
and pain issues. Doctors ordered x-rays to make sure nothing more was going on, and the x-rays were negative. Medical staff can provide treatment for any medical needs, whether it be on site or them having to go to a hospital, but they also need evidence of what's wrong and what needs to be treated beyond the inmate just saying that they hurt. And to see a specialist, there does need to be a necessity. If there's a necessity, Leon County Jail will recognize that and make the necessary referrals. Ms. Adelson has complained about the jail being too loud. The food is not good, but she is in jail. It's not the Four Seasons. All of the necessities.
Oh my God,
yes,
ma'am. Sorry, can we hear that again? Yes, ma'am. It's not the Four Seasons. Yes, get it, Sarah Dugan. Yes.
If there's a necessity, Leon County Jail will recognize that and make the necessary referrals. Ms. Adelson has complained about the jail being too loud. The food is not good, but she is in jail. It's not the Four Seasons. All of her necessities are being met, and she should she bring a medical necessity to the staff's attention, they will continue being met. As far as security is concerned, she wouldn't provide the identity of the inmate that caused the concern. If she would, then she could remain where she is while the other inmate is taken out. However, because she won't disclose, the only option right now is her being in protective custody. But as she did tell the investigator, that does, even though I'm sure it's not very exciting, its downsides, it is a quiet place where she can prepare more for trial. And so she's saying that she prefers that right now. The state asked that she continue to be held no bond at Leon County Jail because she's safe there and it will guarantee her presence at trial.
Final argument from the defense.
With respect to Arthur and every other defendant prior to Ms. Adelson being held and Arthur being met, Ms. Adelson isn't the prior folks. She's not the ones who showed up at Carl's residence with a firearm who planned to kill him and then did shoot him at very close range and take his life. She's not them. There's proof there.
That's what you're going to say? Holy shit. Is this what are we getting a sneak peek? That's going to be what you're, what? Huh? Come again? That's what she said?
They can meet their burden there. Clearly. That's not what Mrs. Adelson is even alleged to have done. In this case, did they hold Charlie? Yes, they did. They met his burden too. Proof against Charlie is very different. I'm representing, Your Honor, a woman who stands before this court, and the argument out of the state's mouth literally is what I put in my motion. She said some bad things about her future ex-son-in-law prior to the divorce being granted. Mm-hmm. She cut some paychecks out of Charlie Adelson's business, and it was her job to cut the paychecks. And at his instruction, she cut paychecks to Catherine McDowell. When her daughter called to say that her soon-to-be or her ex-husband had been shot and killed, Ms. Adelson got in her car with her husband and drove from Miami to Tallahassee. And they're elderly folks, and that's a part of the record. It's a natural course of travel.
What? Why does that do anything? We all heard that in the interview or the interrogation when they're like, Wendy's like, I need you here. And we all heard Donna on the phone because she was that loud. You could hear her through the phone from the interrogation camera. And like, it was because the victim advocate was like, you need to get your parents up here so they can help you out because like, poor you. Anyway, okay.
From Miami up to Tallahassee to go through the Orlando area. The state actually said in its argument that the time that lapsed between when they showed the cell phone records of Donna Adelson and being near Charlie Adelson's house, and then when Charlie says he's going to get back, could be consistent with Mrs. Adelson stopping there and giving them this alleged pre-washed money. Could be consistent is not the Arthur standard. It's proof evident, presumption great. And they simply...
Proof evident or presumption.
Or presumption great. They don't have that in this case, Judge. What they have is the strongest, could be consistent with their entire case against Mrs. Adelson is speculation. The problem here is not one problem, that health issues are not being taken care of, or sleep is being deprived, or, she's not getting the food that she likes. Nobody's complaining about the fact that she's not getting food that she doesn't like. She's gained a third of her body weight. They can't protect her in the jail. They testified themselves. There are no cameras inside the area where they use the restroom, the area where they take the shower, where these washing machines are. There are no guards in there. There's no video in there. So if she disclosed the name,
like I said, are you suggesting the solution is to add video cameras in the showers for Donna? I'm saying.
to do in camera to the court with nobody else present because she knows she's going to be retaliated
Okay,
against.
if I can-
They can't protect her from retaliation. If they put her back in the annex and some girlfriends or friends of this woman that she rats out finds out that she's back in there, they can take her down in the bathroom, and the guards who are sitting behind a glass being protected themselves aren't even going to know what's happening until it's too late. So providing the name doesn't do that. I have a
Before you
client.
go on, Ms. Fulford, as to the
Yeah.
sheriff's role in this, he has
You're
a
not-
constitutional responsibility to all inmates. Also, your client has the ability to pursue a writ of mandamus if the sheriff will not fulfill his obligations. Is there a reason this has not been pursued if the situation is, as you allege through your motion and testimony?
Because that's not the only issue we have, Judge, which is what I was getting to. What we have before us is a woman who's 75 years old. She's elderly. She has health issues that aren't being addressed, but there's more. She's not getting any sleep. She's given medication between 11:30 and 1:30 at night, maybe getting to sleep by 2 o'clock in the morning, waking back up at 3 or 3:30 in the morning. We're not asking that she get special treatment. She's on trial for her life in a town where everybody believes she's guilty. That for 10 years, it's been the same story that the mafia mother has planned out this homicide
Right,
and
Donna.
had Dan Markell kills on this evidence that could be consistent with, and that's not what we have. We can't prepare her for trial under these circumstances. Can we go and visit with her at the jail? Yes, we can. Do we have contact visits with her where we can prepare? Yes, we do. But we can't be up there 5 days a week. We can't be up there 7 days a week. We can't be there for lengthy hours. We're not the only ones who are requesting that time. When we got the records from the medical records from the state last week, there was one time that the jail was able to squeeze us in for 1 hour to go through the medical records with her. Over 300 pages of medical records. And we had other things to do in that time for us to meet with her. And I'm not criticizing the sheriff's office, and I'm not criticizing the jail. The circumstances are what the circumstances are. But if she remains in the jail, we simply cannot have her prepared to testify and assist with preparation of her defense. I cannot have an attorney-client privilege call with her there. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. This phone system that they have, they say that's not recorded, and we get cut off. It says we're making third-party calls. Neither one of us has made a move. Things happening. We get cut off in the middle of the calls. She has this labored breathing. If they can't find anything in the x-rays, I'm certainly not about her. I don't know why she's got it, but I have to start yelling to have her to stop talking because she's breathing so loud, I can't hear a thing she's even saying.
It's like one of those things where it's like, it's too many. It's just, okay.
She did not flee. She did not flee prosecution. She was told, and witnesses for her were told, there was no prosecution. There was no warrant for her arrest. That was perfectly fine, and the state knows this. Their own investigator told a family friend, there's no warrant. They can travel. They didn't attempt to flee being prosecuted. They were told there was no warrant.
Is this
for
part of the
arrest.
evidence that's in the record?
Oh
or
my
are you just
God.
making argument generally about
Dude.
this?
I'm making an argument generally at this point.
Wow.
But the state knows it. If they're going to claim that she was actually fleeing, they know better. They know that their own office said it was okay for her to travel.
Oh my
And where
God.
did she get to? Absolutely nowhere. And they have absolutely zero evidence to rebut her testimony that she was not going to flee prosecution. She was just going to get away to clear her head. In fact, she thought she wasn't being charged. And that's all the evidence that she had. Now, if we were coming before you and she had actually fled and someone had to bring her back, I wouldn't put my name on a motion saying give us a bond. But this isn't the first time that people have gotten a bond. Even people who fail to appear ultimately get bonds sometimes. Your Honor's aware of that. That does take place. People who violate their can get put back out while their hearing is pending for that violation of probation. If she has already surrendered her passport, she doesn't have a visa, she agrees not to drive, an electronic monitor is placed on her, she resides in Leon County, has to check in with pretrial as many times as you say she has to check in, can only leave for limited purposes, she's not going anywhere. And we're not asking, let's let her go back to Miami where she has an international airport that she can hop on and be gone before anybody knows that her bracelet is going off. We're asking that she be held right here, that she be ordered to stay here with a monitor on, be allowed to be away from that home, to go to doctor's visits, get any medical treatment that she needs, come to court, be with her lawyers, and prepare her trial. We're not asking for a fancy hotel or anything else. And quite frankly, that's a little bit insulting considering the health conditions that she has to suggest that she's looking to be put up somewhere. The one thing the state fails to remember is she's presumed innocent. No, the Leon County Jail is not a Four Seasons hotel, but she's not supposed to be punished yet, right? She hasn't been convicted of anything.
There is a difference between pretrial detention
Right.
and
And she's been punished at this point. When you take not one of these things, but all of these things together, she doesn't stand a chance of being actually ready to testify for trial. That cannot take place under the conditions that she's facing. She's in extreme pain. She's not getting any sleep. Her diet is garbage. It's just not going to happen, Judge. And you know, if we were asking for something lenient, I could see the state's opposition, but we're not. We're asking for you to hold her outside of the jail in the most stringent conditions she could possibly be monitored, just to allow her to be with her attorneys, get her doctor's appointments, and get ready for the trial that her entire life depends upon. And I would argue the state has not met its burden. Thank you.
very well. I will review the admitted exhibits before making a ruling. We are in recess. This concludes the hearings. You may take Mrs. Adelson downstairs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Judge.
Okay, don't go anywhere, guys. I'm setting something up real quick. Hold on. Almost done. I'm good. This is going to redirect. I can't believe I got this done while I was okay. We're going to redirect into opening statements from Charlie's trial, because I was just mentioning this. I was like, this would be a great idea. So as far as, because again, Twiz was asking the question earlier, like, what are they going to do for Donna? Like, what is her defense going to do? What is going to be her theory? And I'm like, I've referenced this, and I'm like, I have no idea. But for Charlie's trial, it was the double extortion theory, and it's not possible to explain that. So we are going to just getting it set up here. We are going to watch the opening statements from Charlie's trial, because from the parts we've been rewatching and stuff from these different trials, we haven't actually done the opening statements. So, but that's where we hear for the very first time, that's where we hear the infamous double extortion theory. So let me just make sure I can get this redirect set up here. Yep. Okay. Looks like it should work. Holy crap. I can't believe I figured out how to do this while I was also streaming, because I didn't know if anything would blow up. So, okay, hold on. Let's see. Can you guys see it? It should redirect once I end this stream. Fingers crossed. So, the infamous double extortion theory, and also the infamous puzzle pieces. So let me just double check and make sure I have live chat toggled on for that. Okay, should be good. Okay, so awesome. All right, so guys, wow. Okay, so let me do this. Let me just make sure I've got this ready to go with the trial there. And what do you guys think? What's he going to do? Is she going to get bond? Do you think she's going to take the stand at her trial? Okay, day one. Just get this ready to go. So, and I can take my banner down. Okay. Oh, it's so crazy. I forgot that Wendi testifies on day one. Day one is insane in Charlie's trial. I'm just saying. Day one is absolutely insane in Charlie's trial. Okay. I think I've got it all set up. Cool. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream and roll the outro, and it'll redirect you guys over to the next stream. So see y'all here in just a second.